One Piece Justice, Chapter 941-960. Chapter 941 Kid Reappearance. Of course, when Tianyu said that he would not come back tonight, Xiaoai directly gave Tianyu a look of contempt. Of course she knew what Tianyu was doing. Down pointing arrow open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket. I don't know which vixen it is. Xiaoai said angrily. Okay, sister, don't be angry. Mingmei smiled at Xiaoai. She also loved Tianyu very much, and also knew that Tianyu had a woman outside, but she wouldn't say anything, because in her heart, Tianyu was she is the most important person, so she can bear everything Tianyu has. Sister, you are just pampering him. Seeing this, Xiaoai looked at her sister helplessly. Why didn't she love this man? After leaving the house, Tianyu thought for a while, then came to a jewelry store, chose a diamond ring, then left and walked towards Yingri's house. Tianyu went straight to Fei Yingli's house and called gate of opening only to find Yingli sitting on the sofa. When Tianyu came in, he also looked over. When he saw Tianyu, his eyes suddenly lit up. Tianyu, you are back. Ah. Of course. After all, there are people I love here. Tianyu said sweetly, I'm going to cook, so take a good rest. Tianyu said gently. Yeah, Yingri nodded. She was just a little woman at this time, and she had completely let go of her past. Soon, Tianyu finished the meal, and then the two of them ate candlelight dinner. Under the light, the two of them were silent and said nothing. Together. Love me fiercely, let me completely forget the past. Yingri looked at Tianyu with tender eyes, and the affection in his eyes could completely drip out. Tianyu didn't say anything, just hugged Fei Yingli directly. This is the best answer. After the two came to the room, Tianyu rushed up. This time, he didn't let Fei Yingli go. He loved him fiercely. After spending 2 days of good life with Fei Yingli also returned to her law firm and continued to work, while Tianyu also returned home. Humph, you are finally willing to come back. Xiaoai snorted coldly after seeing Tianyu, then ignored Tianyu and continued to hold the Easter egg in her hand. Huh, isn't that the egg of memory? How did you find it? Tianyu looked at the thing in Xiaoai's hand curiously. You know this thing too. I found it. This is the Easter egg of the Emperor of the Romanov dynasty. There are only 50 of them in the world, but there is one more of them. Xiaoai was curious. This thing. Tianyu thought for a moment, this is a family portrait, it won't be some kind of Easter egg. Tianyu said. Family portrait? Xiaoai asked curiously. Yes, it's just a family photo. Tianyu nodded. However, at this time, Sonoko ran over in a hurry. Big event. Big event. The Phantom Thief Kid has sent a notice to our house. Sonoko ran over, and also held a card in his hand. What is written? Tianyu took the card, and then looked at it curiously. The Lion of the Dusk until the girl who whisked Akatsuki, the 12th word of the clock isle without a second, descended from the bright sky pavilion, except at the Egg of Memories, the magician Phantom Thief Kid at the end of the century. What does this mean? Yuanzi and Xiaoai immediately asked curiously. I don't know, but I didn't expect him to fall in love with this thing. Tianyu also didn't expect it. Forget it, let the police handle it. Tianyu thought about it for a while and decided to leave it to the police. However, Shiro Suzuki knew that this was a good opportunity after learning the news. The Suzuki Art Museum in Osaka Castle Garden is about to open, so let's use this thing to make a name for yourself. Shiro Suzuki decided. I don't care if this thing will be taken away by the Phantom Thief Kid. It's free. Anyway, this thing is worthless. Tianyu also had no opinion on this. The Metropolitan Police Department, after learning that the Phantom Thief Kid made another move, set up a special team to deal with the Phantom Thief Kid. Chamu looked at the crowd and said, you also know the notice issued by the Phantom Thief Kid. This time we absolutely cannot let the Phantom Thief Kid. Got it, you know. Yes, cried all the policemen. Yeah, block our glory this time. Be sure to stop the Phantom Thief Kid. Chamu shouted. At this time, at the Suzuki Museum of Art in Osaka, Sonoko also invited Shaolin, Mori and Conan to come. Conan finally recovered and returned to the office, while his parents returned to the United States, but he also asked him to be careful. Own safety. So many police officers. It's really an exaggeration. Kogoro Mori was surprised when he saw so many police officers surrounded the place. Of course, after all, my kid is coming, although I don't think they will be kid's opponents. Sonoko said. Hee, Yuanzi, how are you doing? This is what belongs to your family. Shaolin was helpless about Yuanzi's appearance. Let's go in. Sonoko didn't say much, and walked in with Shaolin, Mori, Kogoro and Conan. After arriving at the reception room, only to find out that Tianyu, Suzuki Shiro and Nakamori police officer. All here. At this time, Secretary Nishino came here. President, there are guests here. Nishino said. Yeah, just invite them. Shiro Suzuki nodded. Later, Nishino also came here with a few people, and Shiro Suzuki stood up. Mr. Mori, let me introduce you. This is the first-class secretary of the Russian ambassador, Suruov Chinnikov. Zylu stood up. Please give me some advice. This is the art dealer I found, Mr. Ganjangi. Ganjangi didn't say anything, just nodded. This is Pusi Qinglin, a researcher of the Romanov dynasty. Hello. Pusi Qinglin nodded. Is this the killer Shi Kaobing? Tianyu thought to himself as he looked at the beauty, but he didn't say it directly. This is Mr. Hanchuan Ryu, a freelance video writer who applied for the filming of The Egg of Memories. Please advise. Hanchuan Ryu said. So, what is the value of the Easter eggs they identified? Maori Shaogoro was immediately curious. In his opinion, this is definitely a sky-high price. Chapter 942 The Magician of the End of the Century, 800 million. The cadre has been reporting an astronomical figure. What? 800 million? Kogoro Mori was shocked. He never thought that this little thing was so valuable, and if he had 800 million, he could get anything and everything. If you're willing to sell, I can raise the price. The go-getters look like I'm rich. President, the Emperor's Easter egg is a Russian thing. It's better to sell it to a black market merchant like this. It's better to send it to the Russian Art Museum. Saru said, the polar bear looking like a wolf with empty gloves. Ha ha. After hearing the other party's words, Tianyu sneered in his heart. Did the other party think we were fools? Make a look and want to get the egg for nothing. You said I have no eyesight. Ganjang became angry, feeling as if he had been insulted. Okay. Shooting people is more fun than shooting the egg. You look like you have nothing to do with yourself. You are a researcher of the Romanov dynasty. You should want it more than anyone, right? Why don't you make an offer? Mr. Hanchuan said looking at Pu Xichinglin. Yeah, but I don't have 800 million yuan. Pu Xichinglin made a helpless look. However, except Tianyu, no one saw the cold light flashing in her eyes. That's right, I can only get 200 million. Han Chuan also shrugged helplessly. It seems that it's not just the Phantom Thief kid, everyone is obsessed with that pebble. Conan sat on the side, watching everyone thought to himself. At the same time Conan also secretly looked at Tianyu, and he also planned to find some flaws in Tianyu. Did you find something about me? Although Conan's eyes were very hidden, Tianyu still found it, and immediately guessed, as expected of Kudo Shinichi. Do you already have doubts? Let's talk about that egg another day. Shiro Suzuki decided. I understand. Zylu's expression did not change. Okay, I'll say goodbye today. Ganjangyi nodded. After these people left, Tianyu also asked Nishino to bring the egg over, and then everyone saw this egg of memory for the first time. Can we see that egg? Xiaolan suddenly became curious. It was the first time she had come into close contact with such a precious thing. Just look at it, Tianyu said. Actually, this thing is nothing to us. Of course, Tianyu meant that this egg of memory has that value only in the hands of its true owner. It doesn't look very good. I used it as a toy when I was a kid. Sonoko said. Ha ha, your family is really proud. This thought flashed through the hearts of everyone present at the same time. Can this egg be opened? Conan said immediately after seeing it up close. Yeah, you know very well. Here are the models of Emperor Nikolai's family, all made by going. Suzuki Shiro opened the egg of memory. This egg also has a very interesting mechanism. Suzuki Shiro took out the key, activated the mechanism, the Emperor's family model slowly rose, and the pages were opened. This is really interesting. Even Conan was amazed. What's even stranger than that is Kid's notice, the glowing sky loft. Why does Osaka Castle glow? Conan guessed. That's right. Kid will appear in the castle tower in Osaka Castle. That's absolutely true. Police officer Chamu said to himself. A clock without a second hand goes to the 12th word. I just don't understand this sentence. Officer Nakamori expressed his doubts. I see, Officer Nakamori, it's the English alphabet. The 12th character of the English alphabet is L, which is 3 o'clock. Kogoro Maori said to himself. As expected of a famous detective, it's amazing. Shiro Suzuki also looked at Kogoro Mori in amazement. Ha 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 ha, Maori Kogoro immediately laughed proudly. He, this guy. Tianyu was helpless for Mori Kogoro. That's right, before Akatsuki was broken at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is in line with the girl who brushes Akatsuki. Just wait. Phantom Thief Kid, this time I must bring you to justice. Officer Nakamori made up his mind. So, Officer Nakamori and the others immediately went to prepare, and at the same time, Conan followed along, because in his opinion, there are many opportunities to observe Tianyu, but there are not many opportunities to seize Kid. However, Tianyu didn't care at all, and wasn't worried about losing the egg. What's wrong? Why don't you worry about being stolen by Kid? Xiao Ai looked at Tianyu curiously. Don't worry, Kid doesn't want this egg. Tianyu said directly when Xiao Ai asked. Why? Xiao Ai asked curiously, not knowing why Tianyu was so confident. First of all, what Kid has been stealing is gems, and this egg actually has no valuable gems on it. In addition, Kid wrote on the notice that the magician at the end of the century. Do you know who that is? Tianyu asked. The magician at the end of the century. Xiao Ai suddenly thought. It's Zai. His title is the magician at the end of the century, but most people don't know him, and this egg is actually made by him. Tianyu said. You seem to know a lot about this egg. Xiao Ai found out. Yeah, I do know a lot. Tianyu nodded without denying it. Seeing this, Xiao Ai didn't ask any more questions, and she didn't care much about these things. With this time, it would be better to develop her antidote. She must know that her antidote development process has made great progress. Xiao Ai feels as long as you give yourself a few more years, maybe you can develop the real antidote. At this time, Officer Nakamori and the others also started to act. However, this time they also became smarter. They did not directly put the target there, but chose to take the genuine product in person and appeared in another place. However, with Kid's ability, he already knew their plan. Although I don't know where you are hiding, I believe that you will definitely appear by yourself. Picked up a remote control and pressed it directly. Boom. An explosion sounded, and then the entire area was powered off, and it was pitch black. What's going on? Why is there a sudden power outage? In the warehouse where Officer Nakamori was located, Officer Nakamori shouted, Give me power immediately, we have an automatic generator here. Chapter 943. Sniper Kid. After hearing Officer Nakamori's order, the two accompanying police officers immediately started generating electricity, and soon, the lights here turned on. However, they didn't know that this was in Kid's arms. She down pointing arrow she. I found it. Above the Tongtian Pavilion, Kid looked at the place that suddenly lit up, and also knew that the target was there, and then flew directly towards it with a glider. Not good. Conan saw this scene and knew that Kid had discovered the location of the egg of memory, because in the darkness, the light was too obvious. At this time, Officer Nakamori and the others didn't know that they had been exposed. With the sound of tread, the Phantom Thief Kid appeared in front of the warehouse and chuckled, It's too easy. Kid threw a hypnotized gas goes in. No, hurry up and hold your breath. Officer Nakamori in the warehouse was also shocked when he saw this thing, and quickly closed his nose to not breathe the air. However, it was still a step too late. Puff, puff. Officer Nakamori and his two subordinates all fell to the ground and fell into a coma. At this time, the Phantom Thief Kid walked in and successfully obtained the egg of memories that Officer Nakamori and the others kept. Easy to get it, the Phantom Thief Kid said proudly, and then left here directly, using the glider to leave here. At this time, Conan also used his solar-powered skateboard to quickly pursue him and followed Kid's figure. However, neither of them found out that there was a person chasing the Phantom Thief Kid in the dark. He, the egg of memory is mine. I saw the man in black holding a sniper rifle, and then Yuhi's outside line directly aimed at Kid's right eye and pulled the trigger. Not good. At the moment Yuhi's outside line aimed at him, Kid also felt the danger, released the pigeon without hesitation, and then went to the edge himself. Bang! The sniper rifle bullet directly penetrated a pigeon, and then shattered Kid's monocle. Fortunately, Kid was not injured, but he couldn't maintain his glider and fell directly toward the sea. PFF'd. Kid fell directly into the sea and disappeared without a trace. What? Conan, who was chasing after Kid, also discovered this situation. Someone actually shot Kid. Conan stopped quickly, and then came forward, only to fall on the ground, with the egg of memory still in it. There was a wounded pigeon, and a broken monocle. Fortunately, there is nothing wrong with the egg of memory, but who is it? He actually sniped at Kid. Conan wondered, but he still picked up the egg of memory and the injured pigeon, and left here. When the man in black arrived here, Conan had already left here with his things. Damn. However, the egg of memory will definitely be mine. The man in black also left here. Later, Conan also returned to the Suzuki Museum with the egg of memory, and then handed it to Shiro Suzuki. I didn't expect it to be taken away by Kid, but it's really thanks to you. Little Conan. Shiro Suzuki, thank you. It's fine, but I don't know if the egg of memory is damaged. Conan worried. In order to investigate whether the egg is damaged, let's send it back to Tokyo to check it. Shiro Suzuki decided. The Suzuki Group stopped the exhibition in an emergency and used the Suzuki family's ship to transport it back to Tokyo. In the cabin, Nishino took out the egg and placed it on the table in the conference room. At the same time, a woman named Shame also found here. My great-grandfather's name is Zai, who worked as a worker in the workshop and married a Russian woman there. After the revolution, the two went to Japan together, and the great-grandmother gave birth to a baby girl. But my great-grandmother died not long after, and 9 years later, my great-grandfather passed away when she was 45, said Shame. That baby girl? Shiro Suzuki asked. It was my grandmother, my grandfather and my parents, who died in a car accident when I was 5 years old, and I was raised by my grandmother, Shame said. But the eldest wife also passed away last month. Butler Sawabe said. I worked as a pastry chef in Paris, and I came back to China to sort out my grandmother's belongings. When I was sorting out, I found a drawing drawn by my great-grandfather. Shame took out a design drawing that was a little broken in the middle. According to the design drawing, something is not right. Shiro Suzuki said. No, if you look carefully, there are actually 2 eggs. The outline on the drawing doesn't fit together. Could it be possible that 2 of the eggs were originally drawn on a large piece of paper, and the middle part was secretly torn away? Tianyu was referring to said with the map. So it is. The rest of the people nodded when they saw this. At this time, Conan picked up the egg and fiddled with it, but why is it called a memory? Conan thought to himself. At this moment, a small flash of light attracted him. He turned the egg over. There was a mirror here. With a poke of his finger, the mirror fell to the ground. Oops, it's gone. Conan panicked. You goddamn boy, if you break it, how can you afford it? Mori Kogoro immediately punched Conan in the head when he saw this, and was furious. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong, this small mirror can be removed. Tianyu smiled when he saw this. Also, this small mirror is a magic mirror, which I just discovered. You can use your flashlight to illuminate this mirror. A mirror, and you can see what's on it. What? After hearing Tianyu's words, everyone was also surprised, and quickly took a flashlight and shone it on the small mirror. Suddenly, a castle appeared in front of everyone. This is the castle in Yokosuka. Natsumi immediately realized after seeing this image. Yes, this is Yokosuka's castle. Butler Sawabe nodded affirmatively. By the way, in addition to the drawings, there is also a key together. Shame suddenly thought of something and said. In other words, this key is very likely to open the second egg. Mori Kogoro said. If this is the case, the combination of the two eggs can definitely be worth 1 billion, no, 1.5 billion. The go-getter said directly. Can we go to the castle, Miss Shame? Han Chuan said immediately. Me too, can we go together? Xilu, Ganjongi, Pu Xiqinglin and others all said. Of course you can, let's go together. Shame said with a smile. Everyone's eyes have changed. Tianyu sneered at this scene. Chapter 944th Death, these people feel a little malicious. Xiao Ai whispered to Tianyu. Of course, in the face of such treasures, they couldn't help it. Tianyu sneered. Afterwards, everyone dispersed one after another, waiting on the cruise ship to arrive in Tokyo. In the restaurant in the evening, Shame and Qing Lan brought Conan to the restaurant. At this time, Han Chuan also came here with a necklace. Mr. Hanchuan, your necklace. Pu Xiqinglin immediately discovered the necklace and asked directly. As expected of a Romanov dynasty researcher, have you noticed? Do you want to take a look? Han Chuan said proudly. Oh, did he wear this necklace before? Conan looked at Han Chuan strangely. Did he show it off on purpose? Xiao Ai looked at this scene and immediately dismissed it. Maybe, he planned to attack that Pu Xiqinglin, so he used this method. Tianyu also said in his mouth, of course, Tianyu had already given Hanchuan the death penalty in his heart, and if he dared to provoke this person, he was in fine death. Han Chuan handed the necklace on his neck to Pu Xiqinglin, who also took the necklace, and found that the necklace was attached to a ring with Maria written on it. Could this be the ring of Nikolai II, his third daughter Maria? Pu Xiqinglin looked at Han Chuan in surprise. If you say that, you are right. Han Chuan nodded, very proud. Where did you get it? Pu Xiqinglin was very urgent. Is this true? Even Mori Kogoro knew that if this thing was true, its value would be inestimable. I don't dare to make a rash statement without checking in detail. Pu Xiqinglin shook her head and said, of course, her heart was very eager for this ring. It seems that Han Chuan really wants to take action against Miss Qing Lan. Did you deliberately favor her? Xiao Ai looked at this scene and was full of disdain for Han Chuan. That Pu Xiqinglin is not easy either. Tianyu said, I feel an unusual feeling in her. The other party is not simple. Be careful, don't be alone with her. Tianyu said to Xiao Ai. Don't worry, I know. Xiao Ai nodded. She didn't doubt Tianyu's words. Then, after dinner, everyone dispersed one after another, and Han Chuan also returned to his room. He couldn't wait for Pu Xiqinglin's arrival. He believed that the other party would definitely come here. After a while, Nishino also noticed something was wrong when he came to the door of Hanchuan's room, and then when he knocked on the door to no avail, he also opened the door of Hanchuan, and then saw the dead Hanchuan, the other party. His right eye was directly pierced to death, and the entire room was full of feathers. Nishino's expression changed when he saw this. He quickly stepped back, and then notified the others. When Conan and others arrived at Mr. Hanchuan's room, Tianyu, Suzuki Shiro and Sonoko were already waiting at the door, and Hanchuan collapsed in the room. The room was a mess, the drawers were turned over in a mess, the feather pillows were cut, and feathers were all over the place. I was hit in the right eye, and Kid was also shot in the right eye at the time. There is definitely a connection between them. It seems that we need to check, which killer specifically shoots the right eye. Conan thought to himself. At this time, Kogoro Mori also stepped forward to check. The cheeks just started to stiffen. About 30 minutes after death, the necklace disappeared. President Suzuki, this is a murder case. Please contact the police immediately. Kogoro Mori was serious road. Okay. Shiro Suzuki also knew the seriousness of the matter, and immediately called the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. I didn't expect this guy to die. Who did it? Shall I guessed. Look at the situation here. There is no sign of fighting at all, which means that the other party absolutely paralyzed Han Chuan. What do you think Han Chuan would be paralyzed for? Tianyu said. Beautiful. Shall I suddenly thought of this word, because Han Chuan had hinted at Pu Xiqinglan just now, so she also thought of this thing. That's right. And among these people, only Pu Xiqinglan is the most likely. However, this is just reasoning, I have no evidence. Tianyu said helplessly. Pu Xiqinglan was very decisive and completely there are no clues left, so even Tianyu has nothing to do. This is really helpless. Shall I said, her face neither happy nor sad. However, this also shows that the identity of the other party is definitely not simple. Tianyu said. Well, I'll pay attention. Shall I nodded. The Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department, after receiving the report from the Suzuki Group, learned that a person had died, and the police officer Mumu immediately called for the manpower, and then prepared to set off. At this moment, Officer Shiratori suddenly came here. Huh. Shiratori, aren't you resting? Why are you here? Officer Mumu asked curiously. Staying in the villa is really boring, so I'll take a look. Is there a case? Shiratori asked curiously. You came just in time, then let's go together. Officer Megumi had no doubts, and took Shiratori directly to the cruise ship of the Suzuki Group. I'm afraid he didn't know that this Shiratori turned out to be the phantom thief kid pretending to be. Of the place where the accident happened, Miu Miu brought people here. The deceased is Han Chuan Long, 32 years old, a freelance video writer. The cause of death was that he was hit by a bullet in the right eye, directly penetrating the head, and according to what you said, the other parties the ring and his videotape have all disappeared. It is very likely that the murderer took it. Miu Miu said. If you stole the ring, just take it off. Why would you destroy the room here? Especially that pillow. Conan looked at this scene in confusion. Kid pretended to be also pretended to look around, looking for the clues he wanted. He also knew that the murderer was the one who sniped him, so he couldn't wait to find the murderer. Officer Mumu, I found this on the ground. A policeman picked up a pen and handed it to Officer Mumu. Ballpoint pen. Well, Nishino. Officer Mumu looked at Nishino. Mr. Nishino, this ballpoint pen belongs to you, right? Miu Miu asked. Yes, but why is it in Mr. Hanchuan's room? You know I've lost this pen for a while. Nishino said. Then the murderer can already be sure. You killed Mr. Hanchuan, and in the process of killing, you accidentally dropped this pen. Mori Kogoro said confidently. Chapter 945, History Examination, The Murderer is not me. Nishino quickly explained. $swastika $. The murderer is not Mr. Nishino. Tianyu said when he saw this. Boy, can you protect each other because Nishino is your secretary? If the murderer is not Nishino, then why is this pen here? Maori asked. I won't excuse anyone. Tianyu looked at Mori Kogoro and said, I know that the murderer is not Nishino, because you don't know that Nishino has feather allergy symptoms, so it is impossible for him to approach feathers. But look at this room, there are feathers everywhere, which is doomed that Nishino cannot be the murderer. As for a pen, this kind of thing may fall at any time. Tianyu explained. After everyone heard Tianyu's words, they also looked at Nishino, and found that he was standing in a place without feathers, and the distance from feathers was also very far. That's right, we can testify on this point. Anyone who knows Nishino knows that Nishino has a feather allergy. Shiro Suzuki also said. If that's the case, then Mr. Nishino can't be the murderer. Miu Miu nodded. He knew that it was impossible to lie about this kind of thing, and he could find out just by checking, so he ruled out Nishino's suspicion. At this time, Conan also left here, went outside, found a place, and made a phone call. However, Conan did not find it, there was a person behind him following him. "Doctor, it's me, there is an emergency. Please investigate the matter," Conan said, and then explained the situation. "What? A sniper who specializes in sniping the right eye? I know, I'll investigate right away, and you'll call back in 10 minutes, said Dr. Ali. Okay. Conan nodded. However, at this moment, Conan felt that someone was peeking behind him and hurriedly looked back, but there was no one there. Am I worrying too much? 10 minutes later, Dr. Ali's phone called. I found it, Shinichi. When I was searching for criminal information, I found a robber whose age and gender are unknown. His name is Shi Kaobing. Dr. Ali said. I see. Please, Dr. Li. Conan nodded, hung up the phone, and then returned to the room. And when Conan returned there, the case was stopped because there was no evidence. Of course, this was because Tianyu didn't take action. But why did he shoot the right eye? At this time, Officer Mumu felt strange way. After hearing what Officer Mumu said, Conan was also moved. Have you heard of Shi Kaobing? Conan said. At the same time, Conan also wanted to solve the case one step faster than Tianyu in this case. To find the murderer to prove that he is stronger than Tianyu's reasoning ability, because in the past, Conan also expressed helplessness in the face of Tianyu's reasoning ability, which was too shocking. Shi Kaobing. Officer Miu Miu did not expect this name to appear. Specially stealing the treasures of the Romanov dynasty in various countries, and specializing in shooting the bad guys in the opponent's right eye. Conan reminded, but he didn't notice that his appearance was too attractive. After all, compared to his at this age, it is too strange, but Conan has not discovered it yet. Humph. He looks like this, and I don't know why he hasn't been discovered that he is Kudo Shinichi's business. Xiao Ai looked at this scene and said strangely. No way, he always believed that with his own ability, he could solve everything. He was just too confident, that's why he rushed up without hesitation when he faced Jinju. Tianyu said disdainfully, that's why he didn't have much of a cold with Kudo Shinichi. He's just ignorant. I don't know that sometimes, power is everything. Xiao Ai laughed. No matter how strong your reasoning ability is, it has no effect at all when facing the organization. After you mentioned this, there is indeed a wanted robber in the world. Could it be him this time? Officer Mumu asked in surprise. I think it should be this Shi Kao soldier, the one who sniped Kid should also be him. Conan nodded. Kid's right eye monocular lens was broken, and Shi Kao soldier hit Kid because he wanted to capture the memories in Kid's hands. Egg. Why do you know about Shi Kaobing? Mori Kogoro looked at Conan strangely. Oops. Conan was shocked when he heard Kogoro Mori's words, as this. Because. That is. Conan didn't know what to say. Dr. Ali told him, right? Conan. At this time, Shiratori said. Yeah, it turned out that when I called the doctor, the eyes I felt was Officer Shiratori. I don't know if he heard anything else. Conan was wary, but if the culprit is Shi Kaobing, why did he deliberately hide the stolen ring in Nishino's room? They also discovered Hanshuan's lost ring just now, but because of Tianyu, they didn't know that the murderer wasn't Nishino. Mr. Nishino and Mr. Hanshuan know each other. Under such circumstances, Conan had no way to anesthetize Kogoro Mori, so he could only ask himself. Conan looked at Nishino and said, because I saw Mr. Nishino that day. At that time, Mr. Han Chuan was very surprised. Yes, when he was on a trip to Asia 3 years ago, he was filming a woman whose house was burned down. I told him to stop and he wouldn't listen. Then I beat him up, Nishino explained. Then Mr. Hanshuan must still be holding grudges. Conan said without hesitation, but Mr. Nishino was saved because of this. If Mr. Hanshuan hadn't been killed, Mr. Nishino would have been regarded as a thief. Wait, come on, that's it. Kogoro Mori suddenly realized, the police officer's case is not just a single case, it can also be said that 2 cases overlap. The first case is that Mr. Hanshuan wanted to put the blame on Mr. Nishino. In order to make Mr. Nishino a thief who stole the ring, he deliberately showed his ring in front of everyone. When Mr. Nishino was showering, he invaded his room and hid the ring under the bed, stealing Mr. Nishino's ballpoint pen so that Mr. Nishino becomes a thief, but he didn't expect the second case to happen. Mr. Hanchuan was killed by Shi Kaobing. Perhaps the purpose was to capture his true face videotape and ring, but Shi Kaobing found that the necklace hanging around his neck was missing, so Shi Kaobing searched the room to find it. Gross analysis. Chapter 946 Castle Secret Room. Everyone looked at Maori Kogoro in shock, and they were all shocked by the powerful reasoning ability of the other party. Proportional square root proportional. Uncle is amazing, he's a famous detective. Conan also looked at Kogoro Mori in surprise, never thinking why Mori was suddenly so powerful. Maori has exploded. Is it because I feel green on the top of my head, so my IQ has exploded? Tianyu also speculated maliciously. By the way, we also found that a lifeboat was missing, Shiratori said at this time. In this way, the Shikao soldier has taken the opportunity to escape. Officer Miu Miu said helplessly when he saw this. If the murderer was such a murderer, it would be too much trouble for ordinary policemen like them. However, that scout soldier is definitely still paying attention to the Egg of Memory, so for Yokosuka Castle, the opponent will definitely reappear there. Kid's disguised police officer Shiratori reminded. That's it. Officer Mumu nodded in approval. If that's the case, Shiratori, please follow them. Be prepared, Officer Mumu decided. Okay. Kid's disguised police officer Shiratori also had no objection. After the murderer could not be found, Officer Mumu and the others could only handle the case temporarily in this way. After all the things were dealt with, Officer Mumu and the others also left here, leaving Officer Shiratori behind. After arriving in Tokyo, Shiro Suzuki and the others also left one after another, while Xiaolu, Ganjongi, Pu Siqinglan, Conan, Maori, Shaolin, Tianyu and Xiaoai who were interested in Yokosuka Castle followed Miss Xiaomei together. Arrive at the castle in Yokosuka. Everyone entered the castle directly. This is the knight's room. Put some western armor and carpets. This is the lady's room. The eldest wife often spends a day here, because she said that this room is the most comfortable. This is the emperor's room. The housekeeper Zeeb introduced to everyone. I want to go to the toilet. At this moment, the go-getter said suddenly. The toilet is on the right side of the corridor. Butler Sawabe said. As soon as Ganjong saw this, he immediately left here. Tianyu laughed when he saw this scene. Looks like Mr. Ganjong couldn't bear it anymore. Are you going to attack the treasure here? Tianyu said. If that's the case, let's go over and take a look. Kid pretended to be the white bird police officer, and the rest of the people had no objection and followed. Ganjongi ran into the ladies' room after leaving everyone's sight, and lifted the paintings from the wall to examine them. When he removed one of them, he found an iron box embedded in the wall. Hey, hee, just as I expected. Goer Isho said. Then he took out the lock-picking tool from the bag he was carrying, and opened the lock of the iron box, and found that there were many jewels in it. Is there no memory egg? But it doesn't matter, these are enough. He was about to grab it, but at this moment, an iron handcuff suddenly stretched out from the jewelry to shackle his hand, and many knives and guns tied with ropes fell from the ceiling, which scared him half to death. What's going on? At this time, Tianyu also walked over with Maori Kogoro and the others, and Maori Kogoro asked. The one who appeared in front of everyone was Ganjong gasping for breath, and the person was handcuffed there. The anti-theft device made by Mr. Zai 80 years ago. There are other organs in the castle, please be careful. Sawabe said lightly. That is, please don't act without authorization, you only need a flashlight. Kid's disguised police officer Whitebird said after the officer came out. Mr. Zai really likes institutions, so, is this the right basement of the castle? Tianyu asked. He also wanted to quickly resolve the matter here. No, Butler Zebu shook his head. What about the room on the first floor? Tianyu asked. There is an office. Butler Sawabe said. Then let's go there and have a look. Tianyu said. Everyone also came to the office. Please come in, there are photos and photographic works of the master here. Butler Sawabe said. Strange why there are only Mr. Kiichi's photos. Conan said strangely. Hey, this man is Rasputin. At this moment, the go-getter found a photo. That's right, there's his signature on it. Sirius also nodded. Rasputin. Conan was also surprised. Dad, who is Rasputin? Shaolin asked curiously, but she didn't know who it was. I only know that he is this big bad guy. Kogoro Mori also shook his head. However, after hearing Maori Kogoro's words, Fu Xichinglin flashed a trace of killing intent in her eyes. Obviously, she was very dissatisfied with Maori Kogoro's words, but she endured it for the time being, but in her heart it was decided to teach Maori Kogoro a lesson. Let him know that some things cannot be said, and the rest of the people did not find Fu Xichinglin's killing intent, but Tianyu saw it, and immediately looked at it with unknown meaning. Glancing at Mori Kogoro. He is also known as the monk Rasputin, who is also the sinner who made the fall of the Romanov dynasty. He was in power for a while, and was later killed by the royal relative Duke Views. His body was found in the river, with a hollowed skull. One of the eyes was gouged out. Ganjong explained. One of the eyes was gouged out. Conan immediately thought of Shi Caobing. Apparently there was a connection between the two. But it's still more important to find eggs now, isn't it? Xilu said. That being said, how do you find such a big family? Kogoro Mori said. Mr. Kiichi, who likes to make mechanisms, must have hidden the switch, but the wind is coming from under the floor. Tianyu said. He was looking for something on the floor, and then he found something, then opened a strange floor and found a Russian Wen keyboard. I found it. Tianyu laughed. It's amazing. Shaolin was also surprised. Yes, Mr. Suzuki is really amazing. Miss Sha-mei also sighed, looking at Tianyu in surprise, obviously admiring Tianyu very much. Humph. Seeing this, Xiaoai also snorted slightly, obviously very dissatisfied with Tianyu's appearance of attracting others. Hey, you can't blame me, Tianyu said helplessly to Xiaoai's jealous appearance, who made him so attractive. There are Russian letters on it. Conan said, maybe you can use this to open the door of the secret basement. There should be a password. Uncle, please press Russian. Conan looked at Xilu and said. Okay. Xilu didn't refuse. Chapter 947. The Egg of Memories. However, after Conan and the others tried Russian words such as memories and Zai, there was still no response. Obviously, these passwords were wrong. All equal. So, what is it? Conan thought. By the way, I suddenly remembered. When I was a child, there was always such a sentence, it was Niku Katame. Sha-mei suddenly thought of this sentence. Is it Belushanikatame? Saru said in Russian. The magician at the end of the century. Tianyu suddenly said at this time, translate this sentence into Russian. The magician at the end of the century. I know. Seeing this, Xilu also began to type in the Russian translation, Barushep, Nico, and Konjame. At this moment, a sound of gears sounded, and then the floor slanted downward. Then, in the eyes of everyone's astonishment, a stone ladder appeared in front of everyone, apparently connecting to the basement below. That's right, it really is a magician at the end of the century. Sha-mei looked at Tianyu happily. Why is the password a magician at the end of the century? Saru looked at Tianyu and asked. Maybe this is the title of my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather participated in the 1900 World Expo when he was 16, and then he went to live in Russia. Sha-mei explained. Then everyone walked down with a flashlight. At this moment, Conan heard a sound from another fork in the road and stopped directly. What's wrong, Conan? Shaolin asked. I heard a voice. Conan said, it may be Shi Caobing, I'll take a look. Conan immediately ran to the side. Conan. Shaolin became anxious and wanted to chase after her, but Shiratori stopped Shaolin. I'll just go there. Mr. Mori stays here with everyone, Shiratori said, and then ran after Conan. At the same time, Ganjanyi also found someone, and then ran directly over, only to find that Shi Caobing was installing a silencer. Shi Caobing turned his head and said, "Ah. Is that you?" Ganzhong directly discovered the identity of Shi Caobing. And then also saw the gun in the opponent's hand. Not good. The go-getter hurriedly turned around and fled. Bang! However, Shi Caobing killed Ganzhong with one shot. In the end, Conan and Shiratori didn't find anything, and returned to Tianyu and the others, and the group continued to go. However, they soon came to a stone gate. "There's no way out," Kogoro Mori said. "Did you go the wrong way?" Miss Shamei said. "No, this should be the only way," Shiratori said. "Look at the picture on the wall. This is a double-headed eagle, representing the Russian emperor," Tianyu said, and then Tianyu also adjusted the flashlight in his hand, aiming at the crown above. Then, the ground began to vibrate again, and the floor under everyone's feet went down again, revealing a staircase. "Is this a photometer?" When Conan saw this, he also understood what the principle was, but he looked at Tianyu in surprise. He didn't expect Tianyu's reasoning ability to be so strong. "It's really amazing," even Mori Kogoro and the others exclaimed. They wondered if Tianyu's ability or this mechanism was what they were amazed at. The crowd didn't stop and continued to walk, but they found a coffin below. The last egg should be in this coffin, Conan thought to himself, and then lit a candle. "It looks like a coffin," Shiratori said. "It's a Western style, but it's made of wood, this lock." Shiratori looked at Shamei. "Miss Shamei, that key." "Okay." Seeing this, Shamei also used her own key to open the lock. "It really is the key," Shamei said excitedly. Afterwards, everyone joined forces to open the coffin, only to see a corpse and an egg inside. At this time, when Pu Xiqinglan saw the egg, his eyes were full of fire. "Sleeping with the eggs, Miss Shamei, is the body of the great-grandfathers?" Conan asked. "No, I think it should be the great-grandmother. The only cemetery in Yokosuka is the great-grandfather. I always find it incredible. Maybe because she is Russian, she cannot be buried in the graves of ancestors." Shamei shook her head. "Miss Shamei, maybe now is the wrong time, but can you show me that egg?" Saru said. "Okay." Shamei didn't refuse. She picked up the egg and handed it to Saru. "There's a small hole at the bottom." Saru looked at it, and then he opened the egg, empty. "How is this possible?" Saru was surprised. "Why is it empty?" Others were surprised when they saw this scene. "What the hell is going on?" Xiaoai pulled Tianyu and asked. She knew that Tianyu definitely knew what was going on. "You guys should know Matryoshka dolls, right? This egg is actually a Matryoshka doll," Tianyu said. "That's right. Look, the grooves here are for fixing." Xilu nodded after hearing Tianyu's words, and then said, "If only there was that egg." "There is that egg. I expected it to be useful, so I brought it directly," Tianyu said, and then took out the egg of memory from his backpack. "Try it now." Seeing this, Xilu also took the egg of memory from Tianyu's hand, and put it in, which completely matched. It seems that Mr. Zai did not make two eggs, but one egg divided into two parts. 2. There is a mechanism on this egg, a mechanism suitable for magicians at the end of the century. "Mr. Xilu, give me the egg," Tianyu said, and Xilu directly handed the egg of memory in his hand to Tianyu when he saw this. "What do you want to do, kid?" Maori Kogoro asked curiously. "Wait a minute, Mr. Maori. Is there anything I can help with?" Shiratori said, and he was also curious about what Tianyu knew. "Prepare the flashlight," Tianyu said, and then asked Shiratori to put the flashlight in the stone seat of the egg of memory, and direct the light of the flashlight into the stage. "Mr. Xilu, Miss Qinglan, blow out the candles," Tianyu continued, and then the place became quiet. "What the hell are you doing?" Kogoro Mori asked curiously. "Look at it." Tianyu signaled the other party to wait quietly. Tianyu put the egg on the light. The egg faintly glowed and then became transparent. "The egg has become transparent." Shaolin, Shamei and Pu Xiqinglan watched the egg become transparent with their own eyes, and then through the egg's shell, they saw the glowing sculpture of the emperor's family inside the egg slowly rise. The Emperor doll actually rose. Sirius exclaimed. Chapter 948 Real Memories. The inside of the egg is also the design of the photometer. Tianyu said. Plus reversed tilde bug plus. Then the pages were opened, and the structure of the egg was clearly seen. The glass at the top shone light all around, and pictures were reflected on the ceiling. This is. Everyone looked at this scene in amazement. This is a photo of Emperor Nikolai's family. Saru looked at the photos and said, is it named Memories because it is not a book, but a family photo? If the Emperor's family hadn't been killed, which is arguably the most precious gift. Quote. Your great-grandfather is indeed a magician at the end of the century. Mori Kogoro also sighed. If my great-grandfather heard it, he would be very happy, Xiaomei said. I always feel like you know everything about this. Xiao Ai said looking at Tianyu. Yeah, Tianyu nodded, without denying anything. When I got the egg of memory, I did a careful identification, so I knew what the egg was hiding, including what patterns and photos. I also know that this egg is missing a part, but because I don't care, I don't deliberately look for it. Tianyu explained. So it is. Xiao Ai nodded. She didn't have the slightest doubt about Tianyu's ability. Miss Xiaomei, isn't that photo your great-grandfather? The two people are sitting on a chair together, so the other one is your great-grandmother, right? Conan found something at this time. Really? That's my great-grandmother next to it. That's my great-grandmother. I finally saw it. Xiaomei also looked at the photo happily. Only that photo was taken in Japan, and it should have been added by Mr. Kiichi later. Butler Sawabe said. This egg is Mr. Kiichi. It shouldn't be said to be Japan's great heritage. Russia will give up the ownership of this egg. Saru took the egg and handed it to Miss Natsumi. It will be more valuable if you have it. Thank you, but the egg inside is President Suzuki's. Xiaomei said. Don't worry, Miss Xiaomei, I can call the shots and I will give you this egg. Tianyu said at this time, but at this time, Xiao Ai directly twisted the flesh in Tianyu's waist. Ah, really, thank you so much, Mr. Tianyu. Xiaomei also looked at Tianyu gratefully. Hey, Tianyu also took a deep breath. Xiao Ai, what are you doing? Tianyu also looked at Xiao Ai pitifully. Why do women do this? Humph, take $1 billion egg to pick up girls, you really belong. Xiao Ai looked at Tianyu with disdain. Xiao Ai, what are you thinking? How could I be such a person? Don't worry. I promise I have no interest in her. Tianyu assured Xiao Ai. Humph. Xiao Ai snorted coldly, and then let go of Tianyu. Don't worry, Xiao Ai. Tianyu took Xiao Ai's hand when he saw this. Huh, that Rasputin didn't show up. Didn't he get along well with the Emperor's family? At this time, Xiao Ai discovered something was wrong. Well, yes, but I saw it in Mr. Kiichi's room. Conan also thought of Rasputin's initials. At this time, Hu Xichinglin also came to a corner, and then took out her pistol, ready to start. The first person she chose to shoot was. It's great, everything finally ended in comedy. Mori Kogoro laughed, and at this time, a Yuhi point was approaching Maori Kogoro's eyes. That's Uncle Danger, Conan yelled, and hurriedly threw the flashlight over. Bang! Ah! At this time, a gunshot rang out, and Maori Kogoro hurriedly bent over to avoid it. However, although he was not hit in the fatal place, Maori Kogoro was still hit in the waist, and screamed directly. After Kogoro was shot last time, he was injured again, and looking at the location where he was shot, it seemed to be the location of another kidney, the sad reminder of Kogoro Maori. What happened, Dad? Xiaolan also shouted quickly after hearing Kogoro Mori's miserable scream. Everyone, take it off. Conan, seeing this, also knew that it was the Shikao soldier who shot, and immediately shouted. Don't come here, I have nothing to do, be careful there is a killer, the other party has a gun in his hand, turn off the flashlight for me. Maori Kogoro shouted directly after hearing Xiaolan's voice. After hearing Maori Kogoro's words, everyone quickly turned off the flashlights in their hands, and Tianyu also pulled Xiao Ai to the side when he saw this. you stay here carefully, I'll deal with that she-cow soldier. Tianyu said to Xiao Ai. No, it's too dangerous. Xiao Ai hurriedly stopped Tianyu. Don't worry, Xiao Ai, you also know that since the last incident, there are bodyguards by my side all the time. Now they are outside, I won't have anything to do. Tianyu said. I want to go too. Xiao Ai was still a little worried about Tianyu, so she wanted to go together. Okay. Tianyu didn't have any opinion after seeing this. After all, he also believed that he could protect Xiao Ai. In this dark space, Xia Mei, who was holding the egg, accidentally fell to the ground, and the egg in her hand rolled out. Ah! My egg! Xia Mei suddenly shouted. However, at this time, the egg was directly taken away by Shi Caobing, and then ran towards the outside. Tianyu saw this and chased after Shi Caobing with Xiao Ai in his arms. The darkness completely blocked it. Keep his sight. Damn, don't run away. Conan chased after him with a flashlight. Conan, don't walk around. Xiaolin shouted. However, because of the darkness, she couldn't find Conan's direction at all. Mr. Saru, I trouble you here, Shiratori said, and then chased after him. Shi Caobing dropped a bomb on the way to escape, while Tianyu ran over quickly and passed through with Xiao Ai directly. At this time, Conan and Shiratori came after him. Boom! The bomb exploded directly destroying the passage on the side, and the stone also blocked the passage. Damn! After Conan came here, he was also very angry, because he couldn't get through, and Shiratori also came here, looking at the blocked passage. Let's go. I know there is another passage to go back outside. Bye, said the bird. Seeing this, Conan was only able to return to the original place with Shiratori. Chapter 949 Inches. How's the situation? Shuru asked after Shiratori and Conan returned to their original places. __. The passage was blown up, we can only go out through another road. As for Shi Caobing, we can only rely on Tianyu. Shiratori said. Is there any way out here? Xia Mei asked. Of course, let's go. I'll take you out, Shiratori said. When everyone saw this, they also took the rest to go out through another passage, and the rest had no objection. After all, Kogoro Maoryu are injured and need to be treated quickly. On the other side, after Shi Caobing escaped from the basement, he directly sprinkled gasoline in the castle outside and lit the fire. At the same time, Tianyu and Xiao Ai also chased after them, but the two of them were also very friendly. Smart, he didn't go directly to Shi Caobing, but contacted his bodyguard first. Soon, 6 female bodyguards appeared in front of Tianyu. Master Louise, headed by him, said hello to Tianyu. Well, follow me up. Find that soldier. Tianyu nodded after seeing Louise. Okay, young master. Louis did not refuse. After all, they are all elites of the U.S. Special Forces, and it is not a problem for 6 people to fight one killer. Tianyu brought Xiao Ai and Louise along with them, and they chased after him. Because Shi Caobing was setting fire, Tianyu and the others found him directly, but Tianyu didn't go out directly. Seeing this, Xi and the others also directly aimed at Shi Caobing. At this moment, Tianyu said, wait a minute, do you want to escape alone? I won't let you succeed. After all, the egg in your hand is not yours. Who is it? Shi Caobing was also startled. He immediately became alert, and at the same time he quickly loaded the bullets in the pistol. Tianyu didn't care about Shi Caobing's movements. He still hid to the side and didn't show up. I know your identity, pretending to be Chinese, but actually Russian. I guessed it right. The descendant of the strange monk Rasputin. Miss Pu Xiqinglin. Pu Xiqinglin's expression changed when she saw this, and she shot directly at the place where Tianyu made a sound. However, there was no one at all. I didn't notice it at first, but Pu Xiqinglin's arrangement was different, so it became Rasputin. Pu Xiqinglin fired bullets one after another. Do you think that the property of the Romanov dynasty should be given to the emperor and the emperor? Friendly Rasputin, so instead of the ancestors, you want to get the treasures of all the dynasties into your hands, and you insist on attacking the opponent's right eye to commemorate the ancestors who were killed. Tianyu said. Who the hell are you? Pu Xiqinglin asked in surprise. You held something that belonged to me, and you asked me who I was. Tianyu laughed. You killed Mr. Hanchuan because he discovered your true face. When Mr. Hanchuan went to other people's rooms, he was used to shooting videotapes. You because I was careless, I forgot to reverse the photo. It was not a photo of my boyfriend at all, but a photo of Guliali Rasputin. When I saw the photo in Mr. Kiichi's room, I didn't think of it for a while. You think Hanchuan I took a picture of Rasputin, so I specially killed Hanchuan. Is that right, Miss Qinglin? No, Shi Caobing, Tianyu said. You know very well, I didn't expect the young master of the Suzuki group to have such abilities. Pu Xiqinglin was surprised. You were seen by Mr. Gan when you were installing the silencer, so you killed him too, right? Tianyu asked. As if you saw it. Pu Xiqinglin laughed. Tianyu also didn't care about Pu Xiqinglin's tone, but continued, and you want to kill Kogoro Maori because he spoke ill of your ancestors. Enough said. It's a pity that you are going to die. Even if you are the young master of the Suzuki group, it is useless. Who made you arrogant to appear in front of me, thinking that your identity is useful in front of the killer? Pu Xiqinglan laughed. Really, I think, the arrogant person is you, right? You don't look at your own situation. Tianyu laughed. What? Pu Xiqinglin was suddenly shocked, because at this time, Louise and the others also appeared in front of Pu Xiqinglin, and the 6 people and 6 guns aimed directly at Pu Xiqinglin. Damn. Pu Xiqinglin's face was ugly. How's it going now? Who do you think won in the end? Tianyu smiled and appeared here with Xiao Ai. Damn. Pu Xiqinglin's face was ugly, but she was still snatched from the pistol in her hand. If you want to kill or cut it, it's up to you. Pu Xiqinglin also gave up resistance. Under the current situation, she also there is no way out. Ha ha. Tianyu also laughed, and then took the egg of memory that Pu Xiqinglin took away into his hands. You guys grab her. Tianyu said, then take her out of here. Okay. After hearing Tianyu's words, Louise and the others did not refuse either. They completely obeyed Tianyu's orders, and directly handcuffed Pu Xiqinglin and left here. Pu Xiqinglin did not resist when she saw this. After all, looking at Tianyu's appearance, it doesn't look like he wants to kill her or give it to the police. You didn't like her, did you? Can't bear to start. Xiao Ai also saw that Tianyu didn't mean anything to Pu Xiqinglin. How is that possible? Tianyu shook his head and said, I just plan to use her. After all, we don't have any killers or the like in our hands. She just happened to appear, so I plan to use her to deal with the black organization. Do you think she will be an opponent of the organization? Xiao Ai was not very optimistic about Pu Xiqinglin's strength. It's better than just finding someone. At least it's a killer. Tianyu said. As you please. Seeing this, Xiao Ai had no objection. Let's go. Go out. Tianyu saw this and left here with Xiao Ai, and the castle was immediately submerged by the fire. After Tianyu and Xiao Ai appeared outside, and after a while, Kid pretended to be Shirao and brought Xiaolan and the others to the outside of the castle. Later, Tianyu also told them about Shi Caobing. Identity. I didn't expect that Miss Qinglin with beautiful legs turned out to be Shi Caobing. Maori Kogoro was also disappointed. He was still thinking about beautiful women at this time, and he had no kidneys, so he could only be lustful. Miss Xiaomei, I'm sorry, I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Tianyu looked at Xiaomei and said apologetically, but I got the egg of memory back. Chapter 950 inches. No, even if the castle is burnt down, I still have great works left by my great-grandfather, and I think the secret room should be fine. Xiaomei laughed. When the matter is over, I will remove the bones of my great-grandmother and bury them together. Psi Omega Omega Psi. As a result, Kid still didn't show up. Conan said, however, he must be alive. Afterwards, the ambulance and the fire truck came here, and everyone left one after another. However, before leaving, Tianyu went to the police officer Whitebird. Is there anything, Mr. Suzuki? If there is nothing, I have to go back to the Metropolitan Police Department. Kid pretended to be Police Officer Shiratori, but his heart was full of fear for Tianyu. Are you sure you want to go back to the Metropolitan Police Department? Mr. Kid. Tianyu also looked at Kid playfully. Seeing this, the Phantom Thief Kid also knew that Tianyu had discovered his identity, but he also didn't understand how Tianyu discovered him. Obviously he didn't reveal any flaws. I don't know how you discovered it. Kid curious. If I say it's intuition, do you believe it? Tianyu looked at Kid and smiled. Ha ha, it's a ghost to believe in you. Kid Hehe Isho said, not believing Tianyu's words at all. And you stole the egg in order to return it to Miss Shamei. You know that the maker of the egg is Mr. Kiichi, who is known as the magician at the end of the century, so the notice was written like that. If so, how are you going to compensate me? Tianyu looked at Kid with a smile. Shameless. It's so shameless. It was obviously given to someone else, but it was said that I stole it. Kid thought to himself, but he didn't say it. What do you want? Kid asked helplessly. Well, give me some gems. You should have quite a few in stock, right? Tianyu said. Take advantage of the fire. Kid was crying in his heart, but he still planned to agree to the other party, because this egg really belonged to the Suzuki group. He originally planned to steal it, but now it seems that if he doesn't agree, he may not escape. Come on, because he also discovered that Tianyu has a lot of bodyguards around him, although he also knew that Tianyu was so rich. Okay. I'll give it to you. Kid said helplessly. By the way, Miss Shamei's great-grandmother, is it Maria, the third daughter of Nikolai II? Tianyu thought of something and asked. That's right. Kid nodded. Maria's body was not found, because she was rescued by Mr. Zai before the shooting, and love developed between the two of them. She died shortly after giving birth to the child. In order to protect Maria's body, the old man sold the gems she brought and built a castle. And why did he build a German-style building? Because her mother was German, and at the same time, he also put the remaining egg in the coffin, waiting for future generations to discover. Kid explained. So that's how it is. Tianyu nodded. Then, let's go. But don't forget the gems. Otherwise, I'll find you. Hurry up. Tianyu left with a smile. Devil. This guy is a devil. After Kid heard Tianyu's words, he immediately saw the figure of a devil behind Tianyu. Although he didn't know how Tianyu knew his identity, Kid also knew that he was real. The only thing is that there is no way to get Tianyu, so he can only give him gems honestly. Never meet each other again next time. Kid left here in tears. After everything was settled, Tianyu also left here with Xiao Ai, as that kid. Xiao Ai pointed at the white bird police officer and said. Yes, he is Kid pretending to be. Tianyu nodded. What did you say? Xiao Ai asked curiously, not knowing what Tianyu was looking for with Kid, nor did Tianyu arrest him. How can I give Miss Shamei the egg of memory? I always have to find something to make up for it. I am also quite interested in the gems Kid has collected over the years. Tianyu said with a smile. You're really bad. Seeing this, Xiao Ai gave Tianyu a blank look. No way, who let me discover Kid's true identity? Tianyu said proudly. Oh, you actually found out Kid's true identity. Xiao Ai also looked at Tianyu in surprise. Yeah, Tianyu nodded, because I found out Kid's real appearance, but found that he and Kudo Shinichi look 90% similar, so I also asked people to search for the identity of the other party, and then just found each other at Zhonggudian High School. Tianyu said. So it is. Xiao Ai also nodded, but she didn't take it to heart, because she had no interest in the Phantom Thief Kid. After leaving Yokosuka Castle, Tianyu's car stopped, and a jeep appeared behind Tianyu's car. Tianyu also got out of the car and came to the jeep, looking inside. Pusi Qinglin. Tell me, what are you going to do with me? Pusi Qinglin looked at Tianyu and said, since Tianyu didn't send her to the police, she wouldn't worry about her own safety, and the other party definitely had something to do with her. You are very smart. Tianyu looked at Pusi Qinglin and said, I have a deal to do with you. I let you go, but when I need it in the future, you have to help me do something. How about? Think about it. Do you think I still have a chance to choose? Pu Xiqinglin said, looking at Tianyu. You really have no choice. Tianyu said. I agree, as long as you don't worry about not being able to find me then. Pu Xiqinglin said. Don't worry, with my strength, it's still very easy to find you. Tianyu laughed. Let go of her. After hearing Tianyu's words, a bodyguard also untied the handcuffs on Pu Xiqinglin's hands and let her go. Then, goodbye, Miss Pu Xiqinglin, Tianyu said, then got in the car and left here. The bodyguard also left here after giving Pu Xiqinglin some money, leaving Pu Xiqinglin to stay here alone. Pu Xiqinglin also left here after thinking for a while. So far, the incident of the Phantom Thief Kid is completely over. Although the egg of memory was given to Miss Sha Mei by Tianyu, Kid also sent a bag of gems to make up for Tianyu's loss. As for Shi Kao soldier problem, still did not catch the opponent. Chapter 951 Joint Treasure Hunt. This can be considered a happy event, but the only exception is Kogoro Mori, who didn't get anything, and was hit by a bullet, and even the remaining kidney was damaged again, which was extremely sad. Filled circle. After solving this incident, Tianyu also spent a period of time at home bored, and during this time, Xiaoai also reached the key place because of researching the antidote, so he was studying day and night. Antidote. It wasn't until this day that Xiaoai finished her research and stopped. How's the antidote research going? Tianyu also asked when Xiaoai walked out of the research room. There has been a lot of progress. As long as there are a few more problems to solve, I will be able to develop the real antidote. Xiaoai also believed in herself. That's good. Tianyu also nodded. After studying for so long, let's go out and relax. Take you to find a treasure. Tianyu laughed. What treasure? Xiaoai asked curiously. A going treasure worth hundreds of billions. How about it? Interested, Tianyu laughed. Hundreds of billions. Xiaoai also looked at Tianyu in shock. That's right. Tianyu nodded. The pile was as big as a big villa. Can you eat it? Xiaoai said the key point. Of course we can't eat alone, but we can join forces with others. Tianyu laughed. Oh, who are you planning to unite with? Xiaoai asked curiously, knowing that ordinary people can't eat so many goings. As for whether these goings exist, Xiaoai still believes in Tianyu very much. Lupin and the others, I plan to eat this batch of going together with Lupin and the other 4. After all, Lupin helped me steal uranium-235. Tianyu said. Yes, after all, sometimes the union of interests is a stable relationship. Xiaoai nodded. Yeah, Tianyu also nodded. I will contact Lupin and the others now. Tianyu then directly called Lupin and the others. Hey, Moses. I'm Lupin. Lupin's amusing voice rang directly as soon as the phone got through. It's Lupin. Are the 4 of you together? Tianyu asked after hearing Lupin's voice. Ah, they're all here. What's the matter? Lupin asked curiously. Turn on the amplifier. There is something important to contact you. Tianyu said. Okay. Seeing this, Lupin didn't refuse, and turned on the amplifier directly, and then the voices of Fujiko Mine, Daisuke Jigen, and Goman also appeared. Ha, brother Tianyu, is there any big business? Fujiko Feng said with a smile. Ah, there is indeed a big business, but the amount is too large, I can't afford it alone, so I plan to cooperate with you. How about it? Do you want to go together? This time, the goal is to reach a total weight of 600 tons of going. How? Would you like to cooperate? Tianyu laughed, his voice also reaching the ears of the 4 Lupin. Gudong. Lupin swallowed hard. How much did you say? He felt that he had heard something wrong. 600 tons of going, and it's only a lot more. According to the current market price, it is about $60 billion. And how about me and the 3 of you in this operation? That is to say, you can get $6 billion alone. Of course, it also depends on your own ability. Can you deal with this batch of going? Tianyu explained in detail. After Lupin and the others heard Tianyu's words, they didn't make a sound, and immediately fell silent. They also had to digest the content well. After all, Tianyu couldn't lie to them with these things. After all, this is a matter of at least 600 tons of going. Why did you choose us? Knowing that you have a lot of other people to work with? Lupin asked after a moment of silence, wanting to know why. Why? First of all, you are Lone Rangers, it is impossible to kill me directly to swallow so many goings, and most importantly, I believe in you. After all, after the last cooperation, I also know you, so I believe in us it will be a pleasure to work together. Besides, money can't be earned, and sometimes it's not good to eat alone. Tianyu said. What do you think? Seeing this, Lupin also looked at Daisuke Jigen, Fujiko Mine, and Gomon, wanting to see their opinions. After all, it is not easy for him to be the master of such a big thing. Everyone can get $6 billion, why should I not do it? Fujiko Mine laughed. That's right, it's done. Daisuke Jigen also nodded. It's just some vulgar things, I want it. Gomon also said. Lupin also shed a drop of cold sweat on his head. If it's a vulgar thing, what do you want it for? Lupin thought to himself. Okay, we all agreed, Lupin said to Tianyu. Yeah, Tianyu nodded when he saw this. Come to Japan. When you arrive, let's act together. Okay, coming soon. Lupin nodded, then hung up the phone, and then Lupin's group also directly disguised, and then rushed towards Japan. Soon, under the attraction of $6 billion, Lupin and the others also came directly to Japan, and then contacted Tianyu. Tianyu also brought Xiaoai and joined Lupin and the others, because this time Tianyu didn't bring his own bodyguards. After all, those people couldn't fully believe it. Long time no see, Tianyu, Fujiko Feng said with a smile, and this time he also smiled especially happy at Tianyu. Everyone is here, then let's go, Tianyu said, and the group also got into the car directly, and then Tianyu showed the way and set off. They also went with Xiaoai. Lu Bang and the others didn't say anything, they also knew each other. Xiaoai, and also knows that the organization and Xiaoai have become smaller. It's been a long time. Xiaoai, after seeing Xiaoai's appearance, I also seem to have become smaller. In this way, I can regain my youth again. Fujiko Feng said enviously. Ms. Fujiko has always been very young. Lupin laughed. If you want to become smaller, just go to the organization to eat that poison, there is a 50% chance that it will make you smaller. Xiaoai said. So tall. Fujiko Feng looked at Xiaoai in surprise. Either die or become smaller. There are only these two possibilities, so the probability is 50%. Xiaoai said with a cold joke. Chapter 952 The beginning of the treasure hunt. I wouldn't dare to do that. Fujiko Feng said with a smile. This road is really difficult to walk. Lu Bang said while driving, and they had already driven into the deep mountains and forests at this time. Bang! At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded, and the car slipped instantly. Seeing this, Lupin steered the car to a stop. What happened, Lupin? Fujiko Mine asked. It's really unfortunate. It has a flat tire. Lupin said helplessly, and I haven't brought a spare tire. Then what should we do? Fujiko Feng asked anxiously. Go there. There's a gas station there. It should solve the problem. Tianyu said. Lupin followed Tianyu's direction and looked over, and sure enough, just 100 meters ahead, there was a gas station with lights on. Ha. It's really lucky. Lupin was also excited immediately. Forgetting the frustration just now, he walked towards the gas station with a smug laugh, and said while walking, the so-called it might be like this in a desperate situation. Quote. After repairing the tires, the night has already dyed the ground black like ink, and even more unfortunate is that it actually rained. In such a big mountain, there is no village in front, no store in the back, it is already very dark, and it is still raining. Seeing this, Lupin couldn't help but stepped up the accelerator. Damn, what kind of shortcut is this? That stinky old man at the gas station actually let us go this bad way. Lupin said helplessly. Lupin, is it right to go this way? Fujiko Mine asked. Of course. He specially called me to the gas station and asked me to buy a map nearby. If it wasn't for this road, I would never have let him go. Lupin didn't blink his eyes, staring at the road ahead. Finally, the car went up a winding road in Lily, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief in unison. Oh, finally a decent road. Lupin also said happily. However, that seems to really be a shortcut. Jigen Daisuke said, looking at the road he walked from afar. Huh, Lupin turned his head slightly. You see, the house that is gradually visible on the right is the destination we are going to now, the place called the Twilight Pavilion, right? The big black Yamanaka, a little bit of light can be seen from a villa in the distance shot out. However, that house really made people sweat. It's not so much the House of Twilight, but the House of Vampires. Lupin glanced at it and frowned in dissatisfaction. Is the destination there? Fujiko Mine asked. That's right. Tianyu nodded. It's right there, in that Karasuma Renya's villa. Seeing this, Lupin and the others also walked over together immediately. However, when they approached, they found that the door of the villa was not in the right condition. They saw that it was a dark yuhi color, with a gloomy color, so that very uncomfortable. After seeing the strange pattern on this gate, my scalp is a little numb. Fujiko Mine said. Be careful, Miss Fujiko, that's the bloodstain that has already been removed. Lupin said with a heavy face when he saw this. That's right, there is a strong smell of blood here. Gomon took a breath and said. After hearing Gomon's words, Lupin, the others, and Tianyu also walked in together, and then they also came to the front of the stairs, and looked at the handrail, which was also the same color. This may be facing the gate, at a 45-degree angle. The scattered blood. And it's not just the door, there are bloodstains on the walls and drippings on the ground. Although it has been wiped, there are traces of blood infiltration in every corner of the house. Lu Bang also said with a heavy face. It seems that the owners of these bloodstains should be more than 1 or 2 people. Jigen Daisuke also said. Everyone looked at Tianyu, and Tianyu explained. 40 years ago, in order to commemorate the death of Karasuma Renya, a large-scale auction was held in Karasuma Renya's villa, the Dusk Hall, and invited well-known politicians and economists from all walks of life came to participate. There are more than 300 precious works of art collected by Karasuma Renya in this auction, so the auction will last for 3 days. On the stormy night of the second day, 2 men who were soaked in rain suddenly visited villa. They lost their way because of this storm and wanted to shelter in the villa until the rain was over. The organizer of the auction did not agree at first, and then the 2 men handed the organizer a white package containing cigarettes, which was actually marijuana, hoping to thank them for accommodating them. After the host smoked one, he suddenly became refreshed and invited them into the house, so other guests in the house who participated in the auction also smoked the cigarettes brought by the men under the persuasion of the 2 men. Soon, the guests in the house began to compete for artworks, and took up the famous swords in the venue to slash each other, and the entire venue suddenly turned into purgatory on earth. After one night, only 8 dead people and more than a dozen sleeping guests were left at the venue, and the 2 mysterious men and the artwork on the venue disappeared without a trace. Tianyu told a story. Isn't this a story? Xiao said with a frown. No, this is the real thing, but he is 40 years old. The owner of this villa, Karasuma Renya, wanted to find the treasure and summoned a large number of scholars to come here to solve the puzzle, but it was unsuccessful. Not much, he fell into a madness, and then completely killed these people, so this is the situation here. Tianyu said. What kind of puzzle is it? Lupin and the others suddenly became curious. 2 travelers look up to the sky at night, the devil descends on the castle, the king runs around with treasures, the princess begs for forgiveness with the teardrop chalice, and the soldier dies with blood on his sword. Tianyu said, this is the puzzle. What the hell is this? Lupin's eyes were bewildered. Let this kind of thing be left to professionals. Fujiko Mine looked at Tianyu. Is there any problem with leaving this to you? Don't worry. If I'm not sure, I won't call you here. Tianyu said to himself. Then leave it to you. Lupin said directly when he saw this. However, at this time, Daisuke Jiwan discovered something. There are traces of someone here, and it's been a while. Daisuke Jiwan said. Are there still people looking for treasures? Fujiko Mine said. It's very possible. After all, those scholars were very likely to tell the situation here. Tianyu explained. Chapter 953 Going Bell. It seems that our mission is to stop other people. Lupin said. Zeta up pointing arrow Zeta. Humph. The treasure here belongs to us, but it can't be taken away by others. Fujiko Mine said. She already regarded the money as her own, but it couldn't be taken away by others. But now it seems that they are not here, said Jigen Daisuke. No matter what, these treasures are definitely ours. Leave the alert to you, and leave the treasure hunt to us. Tianyu said to Dimension and Gomon. Yes, Dimension also nodded, and he also knew that he had no advantage in finding clues, so he might as well do a good job of vigilance. After all, he also had his share of the money. Jigen and Gomon also came to the outside of the villa immediately, and then the two of them also found a place to sit down, and they were also alert to the surrounding situation. Tianyu, Lupin, Fujiko Mine and Xiaoai started to look for clues. To be honest, this puzzle is really a bit difficult. I don't know what it means. Lupin scratched his head and said. If it were simple, the things would have been taken away long ago. Where would it be our turn? Tianyu said with a smile. That's true. Lupin also nodded. Afterwards, Tianyu and Lupin also visited all the places, and they went to every place. They also saw a lot of bloodstains in various places. It seems that there are really a lot of people who died here. Lupin also said solemnly. This also shows that there is really a lot of treasure here. Fujiko Feng said. Have you found anything unusual? At this time, Xiaoai also said. Have you found anything, Xiaoai? Tianyu asked, although he had already known the secret here, but since Xiaoai has discovered something, he didn't plan to say it directly. Don't you think it's strange that there is only one clock in such a big villa? Xiaoai expressed her doubts. Indeed. After hearing Xiaoai's words, Lupin and Fujiko Feng's eyes also lit up. They also found something wrong, and then the four of them also came to the huge clock. At this time, there was also the sound of a car outside the villa. Hearing this, Jigen and Gomon stood up instantly, and then looked in the direction of the sound. It seems that someone is really looking for treasure here. Dimension took out the pistol in his pocket. There are not many people, no more than 5 people. What are you going to do with them? Gomon asked. Tie them up and take them away. Dimension said. He didn't intend to kill people. After all, he is not a murderer, but the premise of all this is that their faces are not discovered by the other party, otherwise, it's a big trouble. Okay. Gomon nodded, and then he also put on the ready-made disguise mask. After putting on his face, he and Dimension were directly hidden. At this moment, a car stopped, and 2 people, a man and a woman, walked down. The man was a food detective, and the woman was an old man. They were both detectives, and the detectives came here, so their purpose is self-evident. Crack. The 2 also got out of the car and looked at the villa in front. This time I have to solve the puzzle and get the treasure. Dasheng Zushan said. He also spent too much money on it. If he can't find the treasure, his life will be difficult. However, just when the 2 of them were thinking about something, 2 figures appeared in front of the 2 of them instantly. Who? The 2 of them were also shocked. However, before they could react, the sudden appearance of Dimension and Gomon also hit them both in an instant. The attack of the 2 directly hit the necks of the 2 of them, and the 2 of them lost the strength to resist in an instant, and fainted directly to the ground. Although they were detectives, the 2 of them were also ordinary people. When Eamon, the 2 top human beings, had no resistance at all. It's solved. Let them sleep for a day and a night. Dimension said, and then tied the two up and put them aside, blocking their ears at the same time. Afterwards, the two of them also returned to the villa, and then came to Tianyu and the others. Why did you come here? Fujiko Feng asked. We solved the two people who came here. It is estimated that the people who appeared in the villa were tied there by us. Dimension said. How's your puzzle going? Gomon asked. We also found the key place. Tianyu said, two travelers looking up at the night sky, pointing to the hands and minutes of the clock, and pointing to the 0 hour directly above. Then we first set the hands and minutes to 0 time. No response. Xiao Ai said. There's more to come. Tianyu said, the king, queen, and soldier in the code refers to the king, queen, and jack in the playing cards. The treasure is the diamond, the holy grail is the heart of Yuhi, and the sword is the spade, which is say, the treasure and the king are the diamonds K, the holy grail and the queen are Yuhi, S heart Q, and the sword and the soldier are the spades J, and then follow the direction of the faces of the characters on the playing cards in this hall, and move the pointer from 0 to 0. Position, turn left 13, turn left 12, and finally turn right 11. Quote. While explaining the code, Tianyu turned the pointer. Suddenly, the big clock fell to the ground. Tianyu jumped down and picked up the big clock. A corner of the paint on the clock's surface peeled off, and the exposed part was actually a shining golden going. This big clock is actually made of pure gold, Tianyu said, and then handed it to Lupin and the others. In other words, this big clock was made by Going. Fujiko Mine's eyes suddenly lit up. Gomon, I'll leave it to you. Lupin shouted immediately. Leave it to me, Gomon said, and then he directly held his own sword, and suddenly his eyes narrowed, and then he directly chopped down. Shish. After a few knives, the big clock fell down immediately, and then everyone saw the big clocks all made by Going. Chapter 954 Going Castle. Seeing this scene, Lupin, Fujiko Mine, Jigen, and Gomon immediately lit up. After the huge Going bell fell, all the walls were filled with goings. Contour integral. Hey, even the walls were made by Going. Lupin and the others were also shocked. Boom, boom. At this time, a huge voice sounded, and at the same time, the huge voice continued without stopping. What kind of sound is this? Is it an earthquake? Fujiko Mine asked worriedly. No, it's not an earthquake, there's no tremor, let's go out and have a look. Tianyu said, and then ran out with Lupin and the others. After coming outside, they finally saw what was making the sound. They saw that the original villa walls were shattered one by one, and then the Going villa inside was exposed. As this, the whole villa is made of Going. Lupin and the others were also shocked to see this scene. You must know that such a large villa is made of Going, definitely no less than 600 many tons. It seems that this villa is a treasure, all villas made by Going. Tianyu also said. It's not easy to deal with a villa formed by such a big Going. Lupin was helpless when he saw this scene. These Goings are not pieces, but such a big piece. Not easy to handle. Gomon, look at you, you can even cut through concrete. Going, it shouldn't be a big problem, right? Tianyu looked at Gomon with a smile at this time. That's right, Gomon, I'll leave it to you. Lupin said, looking at Gomon with a smile. That's right, I'll give you an extra 100 million at most. Dimension also said. Tianyu, Lupin, Jigen and Fujiko Mine all looked at Gomon in the same way. Obviously they all meant the same thing. Gomon looked at these people and was helpless. However, he had no choice but to agree to this, otherwise, what else could he do? It seems that my sword take good care of it. Gomon said with a wry smile. However, if you want to deal with such a big goal, you also need a lot of time. If this is the case, then those two people also need to deal with it. According to the time, they will wake up tomorrow night. When they wake up, they will definitely find this Going villa. Dimension said. That's right, trap them for a while. At least let us deal with all these Goings. Fujiko Mine said. Then let's decide. Trap those two people and deal with these Goings slowly. Tianyu decided. Okay. Seeing this, Lupin and the others had no opinion. Later, Tianyu also had Qianji and Zhangdai and Dasheng Zushan taken away, and they were secretly imprisoned. Then, Lupin and the others also began to deal with going one by one, and at the same time, they also blocked the place. A full 2 months passed quickly, and it took a full 2 months. The huge going villa of the Dusk Pavilion was finally disposed of. The Dusk Pavilion originally here disappeared directly. Lost. At the same time, the power belonging to Lupin and the others and the power of the Suzuki Group are also directly operating to deal with this huge batch of goings. Of course, the group did not spend these goings, but kept them as reserve goings. Inside the vault, after all, something like going is definitely hard currency. After all, there are too many goings in this batch, so it takes a lot of time to deal with them. Lupin and the others are not in a hurry. $6 billion, even if they don't wash their hands, is enough for this lifetime. Because of the good cooperation this time, the relationship between Lupin and Tianyu has been further improved, and Lupin is also more concerned about Tianyu's affairs, and is planning to have a good opportunity to help Tianyu get what he wants. After ending this incident, Tianyu and the others also passed a period of time smoothly. When Tianyu was bored at home, all of a sudden, Suzuki Jiroji also suddenly returned home. Long time no see, Tianyu. Suzuki Jiroji greeted with a smile. It's Uncle Jiroji. How did you think of coming back? Tianyu also looked at Jiroji curiously and said. Ha 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 ha, this time I found a gem. I heard that kid is also looking for a gem. It is very likely that gem. I must have a showdown with the opponent this time. Jiroji said proudly. All right, Uncle, you're here again. Tianyu was helpless. Hum. Let's take a look. The gem I found, the lady in the sky. Suzuki Jiroji also took out a gem and showed it to Tianyu. Tianyu also took it over when he saw this, and then looked carefully, but found a golden dot in the gem, and when he looked carefully, he found that it was a woman's face. No wonder it is called the one in the sky. Lady, it looks like this. It's really strange. Even Tianyu was surprised by the mighty power of nature. So, kid will definitely come this time. Jiro Yoshi laughed. I'm going to publish news on the newspaper and challenge kid. Jiro Yoshi left here with a big smile and walked towards the newspaper office. Tianyu also shook his head and ignored Jiroji. Anyway, with the financial resources of the Suzuki Group, he didn't care about these losses. Just that night, in a research institute far away from the city, the location of this research institute is far more remote than usual, and no one can be found within a radius of dozens of kilometers. Such a location is extremely remote. If you think about it, you will know that the research in it will not be anything simple. This is also true. The main thing in this research institute is an extremely dangerous bacteria. Once it spreads and infects, it has a super bacteria with a mortality rate of up to 80, and there is no way to treat it. If this bacteria is in the war years, it is absolutely super horrible biological and chemical weapons. This kind of research institute must also be kept away from the crowd, otherwise, if something goes wrong, the outbreak of bacteria will definitely be a catastrophe. Chapter 955 Airship in the Dark Night. A team of mercenaries wearing gas masks and chemical protective suits entered the institute without knowing it. These guys are no ordinary thieves. They are all well-trained soldiers. At least they were carrying a submachine gun. Section _________. The garrison of this institute was not strong enough, and it was quickly controlled by this team of mercenaries. Several of the guys held a man in a white coat with guns and forced him to open the first bacteria with passwords and fingerprints. The door of the research room. Those guys entered the first bacteria research room and looked at the test tubes on the cabinet. They were filled with green and crystal clear liquid. They looked pretty, but these were all deadly super bacteria. Boom! There was a violent explosion in the research institute, and several tragic researchers were buried here. At the same time, the entire research institute, plus the contents inside, were also directly destroyed. Let's go. A leading mercenary put down a test tube, and then said to the rest of the people, and then these people also left here directly. Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department Press Release Department. At around 21:50 this evening, the National Tokyo Institute of Microbiology in Nishitama City was attacked by a 7-person armed group, which killed 2 guards and kidnapped the researcher on duty. Invaded the high-security laboratory, detonated the plastic explosive ice set in the research room a few minutes later and escaped. Toshiro Odakiri of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department's Criminal Department looked gloomy. The nature of this case is too bad. Not only killed 2 security guards, but also killed several researchers on duty, and the contents of the attacked laboratory were super terrifying, and the explosives used by the prisoners were still C4 high explosives. This is not something that ordinary people can get, so the Metropolitan Police Department held a press conference as quickly as possible. The blasted laboratory contained a very dangerous bacteria presumably taken by criminal gangs. Dangerous bacteria. It's a bacterium with a mortality rate of up to 80 once it's infected, and there's no cure yet. Due to the explosion, is there a possibility that there has been a leak nearby? A female reporter asked, raising her hand. That's not true. Because of the great power of the explosion, the testimony of the director of the research institute shows that even if there are residual bacteria, it should have been completely burnt out. But you have to shoulder this huge responsibility. What is the purpose of the criminal gang? It is not known yet. However, the possibility of a bioterrorism operation cannot be ruled out. Hearing Odakiri Toshiro's words, all the reporters suddenly became noisy. I have a request to everyone present here. In order to avoid unnecessary panic, the report will only stay on the explosion incident, and I hope it will not involve bacteria and bacteria. The possibility of bioterrorism. Quote. When Odakiri Toshiro was talking about this, a subordinate came over with a laptop. Odakiri Toshiro saw the news displayed on the computer, and his face changed suddenly. We are Yuhi-colored Siamese cats. We attacked the National Institute of Microbiology in Tokyo and obtained killing bacteria. We will take the next step within 7 days, so please look forward to it. The above is the crime statement issued by the Yuhi-colored Siamese cat. After reading Toshiro Odakiri, he leaned back in the chair and said, sure enough, the bacteria were taken away. But wasn't the Yuhi-colored Siamese cat destroyed 10 years ago? Minister. A reporter stood up and said, this way there will be no restrictions on reporting. There's no other way, this is the only way. Odakiri Toshiro said helplessly. Afterwards, the news was also spread directly, and immediately, the society was in turmoil, fearing the virus. Damn, these Yuhi cat robbers. Suzuki Jiroji took today's newspaper and looked at the front page of the newspaper about the Yuhi-colored Siamese cat. News headlines for the world's first airship. The mad Suzuki Jiroji crumpled the newspaper and said angrily, thanks to you. The challenge book I sent to my nemesis, the Phantom Thief Kid, has become unremarkable at all. Ha ha. Tianyu was helpless about Suzuki Jiroji's reaction, but this time, Kid doesn't know if he will come again. Tianyu thought to himself. Black Feather House. Kuaido looked at the declaration of war on the newspaper, and laughed, hee hee, this guy is still so energetic. But this time, I will also take the gem, but that guy is a bit difficult to handle. Ah, it looks like we have to plan well. Kuaido thought of Tianyu. On a sunny day, an incomparably huge airship, known as the most luxurious and huge airship in the world, took off from Tokyo. At the same time, Tianyu also brought Xiao Ai, while Yuanzi invited Xiaolan and the others, as well as Ayumi and the others. Before getting on the airship, Tianyu also took Xiao Ai up the stairs, and then walked towards the airship. At this moment, Tianyu saw a waiter, his eyes lit up, and he smiled at him. Ah, this guy didn't find me, did he? Kid's eyes jumped when he saw Tianyu smiling at him. But Tianyu didn't say much, and went straight to the airship. Kid was relieved when he saw this, but decided to change his identity immediately. Wow, it's Dorobika Park, it looks so small. Motoda and Mitsuhiko Ayumi were lying on the windows of the airship, looking at the scenery below. Dad, come and have a look too, the scenery is really nice. Shaolin said when she came to the side of the airship. Long-winded, Mori Kogoro sat on a chair with his eyes closed, motionless. Of course, if he looked closely, his back was soaked with sweat. Ha ha, Brother Maori is afraid of heights, don't you know? Dr. A. Lee smiled. Hearing Dr. Lee's words, Mori Kogoro immediately waved his arms. You only have acrophobia, your whole family has acrophobia, I'm just thinking about some problems. Mori Kogoro said stubbornly. It's abominable, because of those Yuhi-colored cats. I didn't even get the permit for the helicopter I used to make the autobiographical movie. While everyone was discussing who Kid would play, a group of people walked over from the stairs. The one who was headed as the uncle of Sonoko who was scolding Jungwon, Suzuki Jiroji. Uncle Jiroji, Tianyu and Sonoko both greeted. Chapter 956 Killing Bacteria, ha ha ha, it's Tianyu and Sonoko, these are your friends. Since they are your friends, please have fun. Jiroji laughed. Sai and Amp, Kai and Amp, Sai. He's really a hearty old man, I really don't understand why this guy has to get along with Kid. Kogoro Mori said in confusion. At this time, the producer Mizukawa who came to shoot came over. Your Excellency Suzuki, let me introduce, these two are my subordinates, responsible for photography and photography. This time we can do a live broadcast for this outstanding airship, it's really us what an honor. Shui Chuan laughed. However, when he heard this, Jiroji's face became ugly. HMPH, this is exactly what I want to ask you. Why did you only send the three of you here? Why don't you let a few people come here? Are you afraid that I will pay for it? Can't afford the money. No, Shui Chuan hurriedly waved his hand. I told Mr. Maori just now, because of the Yuhi-colored cat incident, most of the reporters in the stage have been dispatched, and it was difficult to leave the two of them. Besides, today is the last day that the terrorist organization issued threats that there would be follow-up actions. Mizukawa explained. However, at this time, Tianyu felt a different aura between the two. Is it a robber? Tianyu thought to himself. What's wrong? Did you find Kid? Xiao Ai, who was beside Tianyu, noticed Tianyu's strangeness and asked. It's not Kid, but I feel that these two guys are a little different. They should look like robbers. Remember to be careful, Tianyu reminded. I see. Xiao Ai nodded when she saw this, but she didn't care, it was just some robbers. She had even met the people in the organization. What were the robbers afraid of? Tianyu looked around, but didn't find the camera. Thinking of this, he also walked to Jiroji's side, and told Jiroji Suzuki, Uncle Jiroji, why is there no monitor here? Don't you want to catch that strange thief Kid? Tianyu asked curiously. Ha 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 ha, Suzuki Jiroyoshi laughed. How can that kind of thing be useful to the phantom thief Kid? Besides, this airship is used when I play privately. I hate the feeling of being watched, so I didn't install it. Now, and the most important thing is, I want to have an upright duel with Kid. I don't bother to use this little trick of using a monitor. When he said this, Jiroji also became serious. So it is. Tianyu also nodded, but this way, the action of the robbers will be smoother. Tianyu thought to himself, but he didn't care. After all, he also has a lot of bodyguards by his side. Don't worry about those third-rate robbers. Conan, when you hear them talking about the problem of bacteria, why are you not afraid at all? That child with bacteria will die quickly if infected, Ayumi said to Conan. Yes, Mitsuhiko and Yuantai also nodded. Bacteria. What bacteria? I didn't hear it. Conan said in surprise, knowing that after knowing that Kid would appear here, he had been thinking about Kid, so he didn't care about the bacteria. Later, Ayumi and the others also talked to Conan about bacteria, and Conan finally knew, don't worry. It's just bacteria, there's nothing wrong with it. Conan didn't care. That's right, although I don't know what kind of killing bacteria or virus it is. I was wandering around the Exploding Research Institute for a long time, said that guy named Kazuo Yamamoto raised his belt. You see, I'm still in good spirits. Humans are much stronger than viruses. Is this the robber chief? Tianyu also glanced at Kazuo Yamamoto. All right, Dr. Ali clapped his hands. Let's not discuss that nasty bacteria for now. Let's go for a stroll elsewhere, and finally we can get to the airship. And in the kitchen at this time, March, isn't it about to prepare drinks? What are you going to do? Haha, of course I'm smoking a cigarette, but I'm suffocating, come back soon. The man named March laughed. Really, a girl shouldn't smoke. Hey, it's really a woman. The waitress named March came to the smoking room. She couldn't wait to light a cigarette, and then took a deep breath. It's comfortable. Sure enough, cigarettes can only be understood, not spoken. Quote. However, what I didn't see was that there was a transparent glass test tube under the sofa where the girl named March was sitting. Of course, it had been opened, and there was a cute kitten in Yuhi color attached to the test tube. Inside the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department, Mumu put the transparent vessel exactly like the sky ship on the table. Shiroto, do you have any clues for those people who asked you to investigate the Yuhi-colored Siamese cat? Officer Mumu asked. No, Shiratori shook his head. Those people didn't have any clues left at all, and I also went to the backbone of the Yuhi-colored Siamese cat in prison, and they said they didn't know about it. And there is this petri dish. At this time, Officer Sato pulled out his police handwriting. After comparison, there is no product from any manufacturer at home and abroad that is similar to it, so according to my guess, it should be Yuhi-colored Siamese. The cat terrorists made their own. This petri dish was found near the parking lot, so it can be guessed that the criminals should have brought a lot of empty petri dishes into the institute, and then transferred the bacteria from the institute to the bottle they carried inside, and this petri dish is the one they accidentally dropped. Officer Sato guessed. No, I don't think so. It's a very difficult and risky thing to know that transferring bacteria, so first, at least one of the prisoners has a fairly high level of chemical knowledge. Second, it is this kind of accidental drop is impossible. You know that if you can accidentally drop an empty bottle, you can accidentally drop a bottle with bacteria, so I guess this bottle is left on purpose by them for the purpose of maybe it's setting the stage for what to do next. Officer Shiratori raised his objection. Well, Megumi nodded. Shiratori is right, but there are still a few doubts here. Why did those guys do such a dangerous job of transferring vessels, and why did they choose today 10 years later? Chapter 957 Organs. However, these questions, I think I can only ask those people themselves. Reversed S reversed tilde, said Shiratori police officer. On the airship, Dr. Ali also took Ayumi and the others to tour the airship. Wow, haha, this side also has a viewing window. Hurry up, Ayumi, Mitsuhiko, I think the scenery will be different from here. Said happily. It's really a bunch of carefree little devils. Conan said while watching this scene. Of course, Shinichi, Dr. Ali replied, to be able to ride such a luxurious airship at such a young age, I have to thank that girl Sonoko. Moreover, for them, sitting on the airship is like sitting on the airship. On a floating cloud, Dr. Lee smiled. At this time, Conan remembered the scene when he and Shaolin talked about airships when he was a child. Shaolin also regarded the airship as a UFO at that time. Thinking of this, Conan couldn't help laughing. At this time, Sonoko and Tianyu Shaoi also came over. You little guys, follow me. Uncle Jiroji said that he would take us to visit the observation deck, and we can also see the legendary jewelry. Sonoko laughed. Sister Sonoko is the best. Ayumi and the others shouted happily. Tisk tisk, you little bastards, now you know that this lady is fine. Let's go, Sonoko laughed. Everyone, are you all here? It's all here, even Kogoro Maori came here. Okay, let's go to this super luxurious transparent elevator. Let's go to the observation deck on the top floor together, Tianyu said. Wow, it's really super transparent. Yuan-tai said in surprise. Yeah, Yuan-tai, we can actually see the inside of the airship. Mitsuhiko was also very happy. That's right, this elevator was designed by Uncle Jiroji himself. The purpose is to allow people riding in it to see the internal structure of the world's largest airship more clearly. Tianyu directly transformed into a commentator at this moment, explaining this airship to everyone. Damn it, why are the surrounding areas transparent? That's fine, why are the feet transparent? Kogoro Mori's resentful voice kept floating in this transparent elevator. Brother Tianyu, Mitsuhiko pointed at the huge balloons floating. What are those big bubbles? It's called an airbag, and it's filled with helium. The airship can float, thanks to these balloons. Tianyu laughed. It's amazing, it's like the lungs of a whale. Ayumi and the others looked at this scene in surprise. Afterwards, Tianyu also brought them to the place where the gems were placed, and Jiroji was waiting for them there long ago. Everyone, Suzuki Jiroji walked to the end of the observation deck. This is the jewel I used to lure that thief, the Lady of the Sky. It's really beautiful, What is that golden glittering thing in it? After Ayumi got closer, she immediately saw the golden thing inside. Hey, heard Ayumi's words, Suzuki Jirokachi smiled proudly like a child. Little sister, you are close and take a closer look, I think you will find it. Hearing Suzuki Jiroji's words, everyone's interest was also seduced, so a large group of people gathered around. Ah! It looks like a woman's face. Ayumi shouted in surprise. That's right. Haha, the little sister has good eyesight. There is a golden female face in the blue sky. This is the origin of the name of the Lady of the Sky. The ancient Roman archaeologist Maramus put this stone. It is described as a fragment of the sky sparkling with stars, so this gem is the most suitable treasure to decorate the sky observatory. Jiroyoshi was very proud. Xiaoai also looked at this gemstone ring in surprise. Tianyu saw this and came to Xiaoai's side. How is it? Does Xiaoai like it? If you like it, I will give you this gem, how about it? Tianyu laughed. Road. What's the use of wearing gems on my body now? Xiaoai gave Tianyu a white look. It's okay. It's okay. After all, after Xiaoai grows up, her figure is still very hot. It is definitely suitable for you. Tianyu laughed, and then also thought of how Xiaoai looked when she grew up. Big pervert. Xiaoai also thought of that time, when Tianyu saw her appearance. Her face suddenly turned to Yuhi. She gave Tianyu a blank look, and she was obviously shy. Ha 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 ha, Xiaoai is my baby. It will always belong to me. Tianyu hugged Xiaoai directly and said in Xiaoai's ear. I don't know how many people I've said this to. Xiaoai also said, but her face was still very Yuhi, and she was obviously shy. Really? After hearing Jiroji's words, Kid's nemesis, Officer Nakamori, walked to the display stand, reached out and tapped the transparent glass. As you said, this precious gem is placed in this common place. It is displayed in an ordinary glass container. Is it your provocation like the Phantom Thief Kid? Quote. Haha, Officer Nakamori, you didn't even see it, the peculiarity of this glass. I paid a lot of money to customize it from the United States, even if it's a Gatling 6-barrel machine gun, don't even think about breaking it. Bulletproof glass. So it can only be opened unless my fingerprint and password are the same. Jiroji said proudly. What if Kid got your fingerprint? Then what about entering the password? Mori Kogoro stood beside Jiroji and asked about the possibility. Oops. A scream rang out, and Kogoro Mori flew upside down and fell heavily to the ground. Ah, Dad, are you alright? Shaolin hurriedly ran over and helped Kogoro Mori, who was still a little dizzy. Haha, how, Zongsan Police. This organ is specifically designed. As long as the password is entered, it will be flying by the box. This organ has just said that you said. Yes, but, Mr. Suzuki, what if Kid is like this? Nakamori pushed Suzuki Yoshijiro to the display cabinet. What if he pointed a gun at you? You can only cooperate with him to open it, right? Quote. This is impossible. Kid is a thief and a wise man. Although he has been stealing gems from all over the world, he has never hurt anyone's life. Otherwise, when your police arrest him, will you use the gun directly? Tianyu said at this time. Chapter 958 Pretend, that's true. Even Officer Nakamori had to admit that Kid was not that kind of person. Of course, if he really uses this trick. At that time, saying that, Yoshijiro first confirmed his fingerprint, and then pressed a few times on the pin pad. Pung! Before everyone could react, Officer Zhang Sen disappeared from everyone's sight. The floor where Officer Zhang Sen was standing suddenly opened, and then he fell down so gorgeously. If Kid dares to point a gun at me, I'll do it. Jiroji said proudly. He casually pressed and pulled the open-hung floor and opened it again. Nakamori grabbed his subordinate's hand in embarrassment and climbed up. HMPH, what kind of ghost mechanism is this? Officer Nakamori shouted. Haha, brother Nakamori, are you still saying that my showcase is useless? Jiroji smiled proudly. Tianyu also looked at this mechanism with interest. Just now, where is the position where the police officer Nakamori was standing? If the black and white floor is divided into numbers, it is the intersection of 4 horizontal and 7 vertical positions. If this kind of mechanism can deceive Kid, what a ghost. Tianyu thought to himself, this mechanism is too simple, but he didn't say much. He patted Nakamori on the shoulder, and Suzuki Yoshijiro laughed a few times, as if he was very satisfied with his organization. However, Nakamori brother, Kid is very trustworthy. He said that he will appear in the evening. It will definitely appear in the evening. Before that time, there was no need for guards here. You should bring your subordinates and come down to eat something. Humph. Nakamori, who was desperate for face, loosened his tie. Everyone will go downstairs with me to make a new battle plan, and we must not let that kid run away again. Yes. Mr. Mori, thanks to you, I can still see such an interesting institution. It seems that my report this time should have a lot of things to reveal, said Kazuo Yamamoto, who took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth. That, Mr. Yamamoto, Suzuki Jirokuchi's secretary hurriedly stopped Kazuo Yamamoto, who was about to light a fire. I am very sorry. Please go to the smoking room on the B floor for smoking. Please don't smoke here for the sake of others' health. Oh, sorry, it's a little too casual. Kazuo Yamamoto, who waved his hand apologetically, turned off the lighter. How about it, Mr. Mori? Let's go downstairs with me and have a smoke. Mine is imported from Cuba. High-grade cigarettes, Kazuo Yamamoto said temptingly. He was still a little afraid of the detective Mori Kogoro, so he wanted to take the opportunity to solve him, but he didn't know that Mori Kogoro was just a parallel importer. No, Mori Kogoro, who shook his head, still felt dizzy. I can't tell the difference between east, west, north and west now. I think I need to go back to my room to rest. Unbearable. After visiting the gems, everyone immediately returned to the airship. At this time, Shaolin also discovered the difference in the band-aid in her hand. Sonoko wrote the names of Shaolin and Kudo Shinichi on the band-aid. At the same time, Kid also took this opportunity to come to the place where the gems were placed. Coincidentally, Shaolin came over at this time and found the band-aid on the other side. At the same time, Kid also turned and left after seeing Shaolin. Here. Wait, Shaolin grabbed the waiter's arm. Oh, what's the matter? Kid's heart jumped, but he said calmly. Well, can I ask you a question? This band-aid, Shaolin asked. This, I got a little burn when I was working, so I got a sticker. Kid made a random excuse. Liar. However, Shaolin was completely unmoved. Hey, this lady, what's so deceiving about this kind of thing? Kid asked in confusion. He didn't show any flaws, did he? HMPH, then take a good look at this band-aid. Shaolin also became shy. Kid's disguised waiter looked at the band-aid carefully. Xinyi loves Shaolin. Oops, it's really unfortunate. Why did the band-aid I gave that operator appear on you? The waiter, You are the phantom thief, Kid. Right. Shaolin suddenly thought of it, then stared at Kid and said. Damn, the corners of Kid's mouth twitched fiercely under the mask. Why are you so unlucky every time you meet this group of guys? It seems that you are going to reveal the secrets. 36 strategies are the best way. to run away. As a result, Kid, who was about to escape, was choked by Xiaolan's wrist, and then put his entire arm behind him. This little girl, how can you do this kind of trick? This is a big deal. It's no longer possible to continue to be a waiter, but if the attack breaks through. Thinking of the beating he was about to suffer, Kid shook his head in a cold sweat. This female Tyrannosaurus is not a bad guy. Look, this is the only way to come. Thinking of this, Kid suddenly had an idea. Cough, what if you confessed? Did you capture me and dedicate it to the Nakamori criminal? Kid directly changed into Kudo Shinichi's voice. Shinichi's voice. Xiaolan looked at Kid in surprise, never expecting Kid to be Shinichi. That's right, it looks like you've already found out who I am. Kid took off his mask, revealing the exact same face as Kudo Shinichi. Shinichi. Xiaolan looked at this scene in shock. She never thought that she would see Shinichi in such a place, and in this capacity. That's right, the real identity of the Phantom Thief Kid is actually me, Kudo Shinichi. Kid laughed, and his heart was full of pride. What's wrong? What's wrong? Haven't seen my face for a long time. Or do you think my face is made up? Saying that, Kid stretched out his face. See, Xiaolan, but it's genuine leather. You're not Shinichi. However, Xiaolan shook her head at this time. She didn't believe that Shinichi would become a thief. Xiaolan, do you remember? Kid suddenly laughed. When we were young, when we first met the airship, you regarded it as a UFO. What's the matter? Did you forget it? Kid took out his big move and said to Xiaolan. Chapter 959 Take Advantage, You. Really Shinichi? After hearing the news, Xiaolan finally confirmed that the other party was Shinichi, because she didn't tell anyone about this, only she and Shinichi knew about it. Integral S integral. Seeing that Xiaolan basically believed, Kid also showed a slight smile on the corner of his mouth, and then grabbed Xiaolan and hugged Xiaolan directly in his arms. Xiaolan's face suddenly turned Yuhi. Why did Xinyi become a kid? Although Xiaolan was shy, she still asked her doubts. She didn't know why Xinyi became like this. Lan. Kid looked at Xiaolan affectionately. When Xiaolan saw this, her face instantly turned Yuhi. Trust me, I have my troubles, you just need to trust me, that's all. When Kid said here, he also moved his head towards Xiaolan and wanted to kiss Xiaolan. Seeing this, Xiaolan also closed her eyes shyly, with a trace of anticipation. However, at this time Kid was also complacent and put his hand on Xiaolan's buttocks and touched it. Pung! At this moment, Xiaolan woke up instantly, then grabbed Kid with one hand and threw him over his shoulder, throwing Kid to the ground. What's going on? Kid didn't understand why it was fine, but suddenly it became like this. He obviously didn't show any flaws. Humph! You are definitely not Shinichi. Shinichi won't touch me. Touch me there, Xiaolan said angrily. How could this happen? Kid was helpless, but he didn't expect such a flaw to be revealed. Humph! I'll let you go this time, and next time, I'll never let you go. Xiaolan waved her fist at Kid and left. It's really lucky. Kid was very happy when he saw this, and then left immediately. In the hall, Tianyu and the others are resting here. I'll give me a quick meal, and then go there to be on guard immediately. All pay attention to me. Give me a 120,000 point boost. That guy Kid will definitely come before he commits a crime. Step on the spot, Officer Nakamori shouted to his police officers. In the kitchen, March, can you help me get the glass from the cupboard? Really, Fujilan, you are really lazy. March, who grabbed his arm vigorously, took out the glass from the cabinet. Hey, March, what's wrong with your arm, Yuhi? I don't know. After handing the cup to Tenglan in March, he looked at his arm. It seems like he was asked for something. It's so itchy. Really, there are mosquitoes in such a luxurious place. When Xiaolan walked into the hall, she suddenly felt someone grab her arm, instinctively turned over, and then kicked out. Kazuo Yamamoto flew out heavily. Mr. Yamamoto, are you okay? At this time, Xiaolan finally saw who the other party was. After seeing Kazuo Yamamoto, she quickly apologized. No, no, no. Kazuo Yamamoto rubbed his face with one hand, and stood up slowly with the other hand leaning on the ground. I heard that Miss Shaolin, you are a karate champion in the Kanto region. I just thought try your hand out, and as a result, Kazuo Yamamoto shook his chin. It really lived up to his reputation. Ha 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 ha. Kazuo Yamamoto laughed. After seeing that the other party had nothing to do, Shaolan was also relieved. Are you planning to take down the most powerful Shaolin first? Tianyu looked at this scene and immediately knew the other party's plan, and looked at Kazuo Yamamoto with disdain. Gulu gulu. Mori Kogoro drank a whole glass of beer in one breath. Ahahaha, as expected of a German stout, the taste is just different. Beautiful lady, give me another drink. Maori Kogoro thoroughly, resurrected. Tisk tisk, Shaolin, it seems that your father has been completely resurrected. Sonoko laughed. Seeing this, Shaolan rubbed her forehead. Yuanzi, who gave him the beer, why don't he just keep fainting? Shaolan also looked at her father helplessly. Everyone has been waiting for a long time. Kid pretended to be a waiter with a large plate and kept handing out cakes to Shaolin and the others. Of course, when it was distributed to Shaolin, she was naturally a little guilty, but Shaolin was obviously ignore each other. Tianyu's eyes lit up when he saw this. Yeah. This waiter, bring me some cold drinks. Tianyu said with a smile to the waiter who was pretending to be Kid. Okay, Master Tianyu. Kid laughed. This guy definitely recognized me. I'm sure, and I don't know why the other party is a cartoonist, so why would he find out my identity? Kid thought helplessly. After a while, Kid finally brought over what Tianyu asked for. Yeah. Go get busy. Tianyu smiled at Kid. Sure enough, this guy recognized me. Kid cried inwardly, and that guy. Kid also looked at Conan who was playing cards with Ayumi and the others, and then left. After seeing the waiter leave, Xiaoai also said to Tianyu, is that guy Kid pretending to be? Xiaoai asked. That's right, it's him. Tianyu nodded. So it is. Xiaoai didn't expect Kid to pretend to be a waiter. Ah, hurry up to Osaka, then I can see my Kid. Sir Kid, please give me a hug and let me see your true face of Mount Lu. Sonoko said expectantly. You'll be disappointed. Shaolin squinted and took a bite of the cake. If you see the appearance of Kid, you will definitely be disappointed. HMPH. I can't, why? Could it be that Shaolin, have you seen the appearance of Lord Kid? Sonoko asked curiously. That, an old man in his 40s, what's so beautiful? Shaolan swallowed another piece of cake. I will be disappointed, because Kid and Kudo Shinichi look exactly the same. Tianyu thought to himself after hearing Sonoko's words. At this time, the three of Mitsuhiko and Ayumi was discussing. Hey, you two. Mitsuhiko pulled Ayumi and Motoda down in front of him. When we open this door, we can start from the pass through the middle, so if you go out through the front door, you can penetrate the entire whale, and this matter is not allowed to tell Conan, we have to secretly keep it secret and piss them off. Quote. Chapter 960 Bacteria appear. That's right. Ayumi and Yuanta also nodded. Hey, you little guys, where are you going? Dr. A. Lee asked. Hearing Dr. Akasa's question, Mitsuhiko laughed twice. We're thinking, we're going back to the room to play poker later, right, Ayumi, Yuanta? Yes. Seeing this, Dr. Lee had no doubts. At this moment, Suzuki Jiroji's phone suddenly rang. Suzuki Yoshijiro picked up the phone. Unfamiliar number. Who is it? Hello, I'm Suzuki Jiroji. A gloomy voice on the opposite side sounded. Our Yuhi-colored Siamese cat spread the killing bacteria in the smoking room of the airship. Check the underside of the sofa on the left side. Then the opposite side hung up the phone directly. Hello. What nonsense are you talking about? You bastard. You just hung up the phone. Suzuki Jiroji was furious. Uncle, what's the matter? What happened? Tianyu looked at Jiroji and asked, but Tianyu knew in his heart that the mercenary person had shot. It's nothing. It's just a prank call. Jiroji obviously didn't plan to say anything without confirmation. Tianyu didn't say anything after seeing this. After all, he also knew that this killing bacteria was a fake thing. Don't need to care. Hey, Genta, let's go too, Ayumi said, and then set off together with Genta Mitsuhiko. At this time, Suzuki Jiroji found Officer Nakamori and whispered in his ear, I received a call saying that the killing bacteria was put on the airship, you and me go and see. Jiroji said. After hearing Jiroji's words, Officer Nakamori was also suddenly shocked, but his face did not show anything, but nodded calmly, and then took the two police officers and walked towards the smoking room with Jiroji. At the door of the smoking room, everyone also walked in wearing gas masks. Police. I found that culture bottle. Nakamori's men wearing gas masks were about to grab the petri dish. Stop, idiot, what if you get infected? Take a picture, send it back to the police station, analyze and compare to see if it's real or a prank. Officer Nakamori hurriedly stopped the other party. Yes. Immediately, the photo was passed back to the Metropolitan Police Department, and immediately received a response from Officer Mumu. That's right, Officer Nakamori. Mumu compared the two photos. It's exactly the same as the one found near the research institute, and this culture bottle was never made public by our police, so it wasn't copied and then manipulated. The possibility of mischief. Mumu also said seriously. If you say that, Nakamori said with a serious face, what the guy on the phone said should be true. That's right, Mumu nodded. I'm afraid this empty culture bottle left in the parking lot is just to let the police confirm that what they left is the real thing. Okay, Officer Nakamori, I'll ask you for that. Now, I will report this matter to my superiors. Damn, Nakamori, who hung up the phone, slammed the table. What the man said seems to be true, now it's in big trouble. Damn, Suzuki Jiroji clenched his fists. In this case, there is no way to catch Kid. Jiroji was still thinking about Kid at this time. Hey, Officer Nakamori sighed. This is something that can't be helped. You guys, immediately block the smoking room. Also, just in case, this bar next to the smoking room is also blocked. Should this news be kept under wraps now? Or should it be released directly? Jiroji asked, looking at Officer Nakamori. Let's make it public. After all, once someone is infected, they need to be quarantined immediately, said Officer Nakamori. Okay. Seeing this, Jiroji had no opinion. Everyone, Nakamori returned to the large living room with his subordinates. I want to tell you some bad news. That terrorist organization Yui-colored Siamese cat put that super-killing bacteria in the smoking room on the B floor. Isn't it? Officer Nakamori, you won't be joking again, will you? Sonoko couldn't believe it. Unfortunately, Miss Sonoko, I have confirmed it just now. As I said, the smoking room on the B floor has been blocked. Nakamori said solemnly. Ah, at this moment, Kazuo Yamamoto, who had been sitting in the corner, suddenly screamed, then turned around in pain, Yuhi. Yuhi rash. Yamamoto Kazuo looked at the Yuhi rash on his body in horror. Please help. Help me, please, please, please help me. Ah. Damn, is it actually infected already? Officer Nakamori also looked at this scene seriously. Sergeant Nakamori, said Jiroyoshi Suzuki's secretary. Speaking of that guest was smoking in the smoking room just now. Please, help me. Kazuo Yamamoto walked forward staggeringly. It's really fake. Tianyu looked at this scene, but said with disdain. What's wrong? Is this person pretending? Xiaoi asked curiously when she heard Tianyu's words. Yes, although his performance is very similar, but you look at his eyes, very calm. How could this be the eyes of a person infected with killing bacteria? Tianyu said. Sure enough. After hearing Tianyu's words, Xiaoi also looked at the other party's eyes carefully, and also found something wrong. Mr. Yamamoto, please don't get excited. As a police officer, Officer Nakamori was very conscientious and walked directly to Kazuo Yamamoto. Please calm down. No, don't give up on me. Kazuo Yamamoto held Nakamori tightly. Damn. Nakamori raised his hand and directly knocked Kazuo Yamamoto on the neck. This is the only way to calm him down at this time. Officer Nakamori, you also came into contact with this man just now. You'd better go and disinfect it right away. Jiroji said. Ah. Before Officer Nakamori could respond, the waitress named March also screamed and fainted. March, what's the matter with you? Police officer. March has also been seen on his body, the arm of his left hand and the palm of his right hand. Damn, Nakamori hurried over. 2 people have already been infected. By the way, is there any place here to isolate the 2 of them? Hey, there is a ward in the consultation room, and it should be able to isolate quickly there. Very well, you guys, put on your protective masks and carry the 2 of them to the ward of the consultation room first. Officer Nakamori said loudly. Ask for subscription.